It's Tuesday, day number 2 in the month of April. Welcome aboard to the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo, and I do this together with my B-mate, Bernice Lansah. We're grateful that you've chosen us again this morning. Now, coming up presently, I'll be serving you the news as always. And right after that, we get into our big stories. A lot of topical matters we're going to be contemplating this morning, starting on the educational front. Now, school-feeding caterers are aghast at the fact that they have not received payments for their services. In fact, from the third term of last year, they have not received payment. And they are saying a day before the reopening of schools that if they do not get this, they are not going to cook. That is the latest situation. We'll be delving into the how and why and when of that particular issue, even as we contemplate the way forward as students gear up to return to school. While staying on the educational front, but this time contemplating teachers, a group of teachers, innovative teachers they call themselves, are also upset. Why? They are saying that the Ghana Education Service pension fund, which they contribute to, is not using their pension funds judiciously. They have gone hard on this issue before, and they have even more concerns now that they will be sharing with us this morning. We'll be joined by the head of that group, among others, this morning as we get into that all-important conversation. Now, stay with us again because we're going to be talking to you about Gold Catcher. Now, we know that mining, especially small-scale mining, contributes a lot to our kitty. Employment, creating employment opportunities, and also generating foreign exchange, hard currency, for our country, Ghana. But there are problems in terms of mining in the country. While it is catering for about 4.5 million people in terms of job creation, there's also the issue of responsible mining and land reclamation. This morning, we have an engagement on the back of all the talk about Galamsey and all of that. We have an engagement with a major stakeholder right here on the show. Also expect us to talk to Waylead Properties. They'll be sharing with us some very important information. That's what the show looks like this Tuesday morning. Stay with us. As always, you don't want to miss a beat. We'll be right back with the news. Thank you for staying for the news. And in our first story, we focus on the economy. And Ghana is being cited as a classic example of a badly run African economy with lessons for the rest of the continent on how not to run an economy. Head of Political Affairs at JoyNews, Evans Mensah, has been in Rwanda these last few days as guest of President Paul Kagame's governing party as they mark their 35th anniversary. He reports that Ghana is getting some attention, but for all the wrong reasons from international experts discussing African policy at the governing party's international conference. There's more in this report.
A succinct diagnosis of the African challenge by President Paul Kagame. Under President Kagame, Rwanda has risen from a country ravaged by genocide when 800,000 people were slaughtered just 29 years ago to become a country now ranked first on the continent and amongst the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world, pre and post COVID-19, according to the African Development Bank. His Rwandan Patriotic Front Party, RPF, was created by a group of Rwandese in exile who fought to end the genocide. This week, the party turns 35. At an international conference to mark the anniversary, the party focused exclusively on policy and not politics, inviting international experts to discuss the African problem and propose solutions. What was fascinating was how the international panel of experts openly challenged President Kagame at his own party conference in a healthy exchange of ideas. It started when the former president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Donald Kaberuka, suggested that Africa's challenge was mainly failure to properly diagnose our problems and apply the right solutions.
Before you answer how, you have to answer what. And I'm not even sure that you have answered the what. So let me give you an example. So we're now talking about the energy transition, which will depend a lot on a number of minerals. Maybe there are 3 or 4, I think. And are you certain that countries owning those minerals are not going to make the mistake which countries exporting oil and gas have not made? I'm not sure about that. So if we're going to say, this is how we do something, but what are you doing in the first place? So, how do I put this to you? Every single country in Africa I visited, and I visited all of them except one, has a strategy, 30-year strategy, 40-year strategy, all right? You are right, where they fail is on implementation. But often it is because the what itself has not been well thought out, all right? So it is important to answer how, but you must also answer what are you going to do. I'm not certain that in many countries, the what has been answered.
President Kagame, in his front row seat, raised his hand, appealed to speak, and disagreed.
We've been places, all of us, and we've been in search of what is it that we can do in Africa to put the transformation journey on track as we wish to. So actually the problem which Donald talked about also is that implementation. It's actually the main issue. You said that you are not saying that there are no implementation issues. Actually, this is the problem. Forget about the how or the what. The how and the what have been answered by you even now on the sitting there in the panel.
Let's head to Parliament now, and the new chairman of the Muslim caucus in Parliament is pushing for an urgent passage of a Muslim marriages and divorce law. A few weeks ago, the Registrar General's Department declared about 80% of Muslim marriages invalid because they did not adhere to Ghanaian law. Member of Parliament for Yendi and chair of the Muslim caucus in Parliament, Farouk Aliu Mahama, says there's an immediate need to pass a legislation that properly protects Muslim marriages. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante now reports.
For 2 years, the Muslim caucus has been unable to elect a substantive chairman. Within that period, Asawasi MP Muntaka Mubarak acted as chair. But speaking exclusively to JoyNews, new chairman Farouk Aliu Mahama outlined what will be the most important items on his agenda as chair of the caucus.
The marriage bill and the divorce bill, even though Muslims are against divorce, but the marriage bill is is an order of priority to me. And I believe that I'm going to liaise up with the leadership of Parliament and the Speaker, and also liaise up with the Attorney General to see where the paper is in the report, so that we can quickly lay it and make it relevant, because Muslim marriages are very, very critical. And some issues are there when you die and you take your certificate to show that you've married to a Muslim. It's not recognized in the Constitution of Ghana, and also and it is something that is a sense of a worry. So we're going to constitute a team that is going to come up level-headed people, including the Chief Imam's office and the Ulumas, and you will have the Muslim leadership in Ghana to see how best we can pass. And I can assure you that this will be the greatest achievement as the chairman of the caucus.
According to Farouk Aliu Mahama, despite being on different sides of the political divide, Muslim MPs must eschew partisanship and protect Islamic interests.
As a leader, I have had the privilege of having good relationship with my seniors in Parliament, Honorable Adriso, Muntaka, Sohene, Honorable Mutala, ABF Seni, and all those people are people of respected quality and respected Muslims. What it is that I have a relationship with them, and my philosophy in life is that I'm not taking up this position as a Muslim caucus for the benefit of myself, but we are united. When it comes to Islam, political lines don't come in. When I see my Muslim brother, if you're not even a member of parliament, I see you as somebody. So I'm inculcating that mindset before even I kickstart my intention to lead the Muslim caucus. I think I come from a very strong Islamic background family, spanning from my paternal, my father's father. He was the Zongona of Yendi, of the traditional capital. My grandfather was the chief of Zongo in Yendi. They call him Zongona Mahama. My maternal grandfather, my mom's father, the late Morigala, was one of the greatest ministers who had come from the Islamic side of the world. Morigala, he was the member of parliament for the Sisala and became a minister of trade and industry, foreign affairs. So both my grandfather, my paternal and my maternal, and fortunate to have had a father who was a very strong Muslim.
Farouk Aliu Mahama later met with the Muslim Staff Association of Parliament and promised not to allow the association to be used to push parochial partisan interests.
Fellow brothers and sisters in Islam, I wish to assure you of my commitment to revamp and work hard with you to renew the spirits of the MPs in the activities of the Muslim caucus. I also wish to state emphatically that during this tenure of office, as the chairman of the Muslim caucus, which shall not be used as a vehicle to champion the cause of any politics.
Being the son of the first Muslim vice president in Ghana, Farouk Aliu Mahama has the role cut out for him and will be building on the successes of his predecessors. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
In our next story, the Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Sir Sam Jonah, wants government to be circumspect in rolling out policies in its quest to revive Ghana's ailing economy. Dr. Jonah concedes that the current times call for tough decisions to be made, but advises that such decisions should be laced with empathy and recourse to the vulnerable population of the country. Speaking at the 55th Congregation of the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Jonah warned that if the situation was not handled well, it could undermine the security and stability of Ghana.
Dr. Jonah noted that the hard time the country is grappling with has brought in its wake hopelessness, particularly among the youth, and development, which he says could undermine the security and stability of the country.
The nation are facing unprecedented times against the backdrop of complex, volatile, and uncertain economic and geopolitical developments. This situation, Mr. Chairman, has fostered a growing sense of hopelessness and helplessness, particularly amongst our youth, a development which has the potential to undermine the security and stability of our nation. Our economic situation is very, very challenging, to say the least. Interest rates are intolerably high, and a combination of that with high inflation and a volatile currency make for a very dangerous cocktail indeed. As we have been witnessing, there are no pretty policy choices for dealing with this situation. This is not the time for blame gaming. We need to focus in a constructive spirit to get us out of the difficulty we find ourselves in. My humble advice to key policymakers is that the times that we live in call for a very healthy dose of humility in decision making as we navigate the difficult path of economic restructuring.
He indicated that government should be mindful of the decisions it takes in these precarious moments.
Now, the Ministry of Education says it is committed to increasing science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education in the country's tertiary schools to bring about the needed development in the country. Speaking at the Congregation of the University of Education, Winneba, Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei Educhum noted that the nation's quest for any industrial revolution must be championed by STEM education.
Speaking at the congregation ceremony, the Director of Tertiary Education at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Yaira Jakade, who represents the Minister of Education, indicated that STEM education was crucial to Ghana's development, hence the deliberate effort by government to intensify STEM education beyond book knowledge.
The government, and for that matter, the Ministry of Education, places importance on one of the key areas of modern education, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. Education, which is the niche area that University of Education should focus on. So I'm glad to hear that the laboratories have been renovated. The ministry recognizes that presently, STEM education cannot be overemphasized as technology is fast taking over daily activities in our homes, schools, institutions, and communities to solve real-world problems, and that education in STEM area is the priority for fast-moving, technologically driven world. STEM education holds numerous prospects and benefits, such as improving science literacy and developing critical thinkers and innovators, which in turn help to sustain the development of economies.
The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba, Professor Mauto Avoke, advised the new graduates to lead a quest for international travel and adventure, or a new educational step, because learning does not stop or slow down after graduation.
Embrace integrity, objectivity, and honesty as your goals. Use your critical thinking and problem-solving abilities. Stand by your well-supported conviction and approach your task with positive outlook. These qualities will set you apart in the environment that you find yourself. As you leave this room today, remember that fresh beginning awaits you. Be the quest for international travel, adventure, or the next educational step. Whichever the way is, remember to keep moving forward without stopping.
The Vice-Chancellor of the university also admonished the new graduates not to undermine head teachers of the various educational institutions or schools they will be posted to just because they have earned a degree. Abdallah Osman's reports read to you.
Now, sexual harassment is one of the menaces bedeviling various universities in Ghana. The situation creates an unsafe environment for females and hinders their academic, physical, and physiological progress. Over 50 participants, through a workshop organized by the Anti-Sexual Harassment Action Project at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, have therefore been tasked to lead campaigns against sexual harassment.
In Ghana are reported to experiencing sexual harassment according to the United Nations Population Fund UNFPA in 2018. At the University of Ghana campus 2020, 60% of female students experience sexual harassment. These alarming statistics has necessitated collective efforts, such including the KNUST anti-sexual harassment policy, to fight against the social menace in educational institutions. The two-day training by the Anti-Sexual Harassment Action Project, ASHAP, of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology aims to heighten awareness of sexual harassment on campus and highlight signs of early detection of possible sexual assault and preventive measures. The ASHAP workshop, dubbed Trainer of Trainers, brought together students, professionals in academia, and experts in the subject matter. The Trainer of Trainers will equip participants to subsequently train student leaders and peer-to-peer mentors to periodically enable them to handle cases of sexual harassment effectively. Senior lecturer and project lead for the Anti-Sexual Harassment Project, ASHAP, KNUST, Dr. Mrs. Mercy Bedu, believes that students are unable to report sexual harassment issues due to limited information on available avenues.
KNUST has put together a sexual harassment policy document, and so as part of our project, we seek to advise the students and also to let them know what we have available on KNUST campus that they can use if they are victims, how they can be supported. So the support systems that we have here on campus, we are trying to enlighten them to have an idea what is there. How to report the cases, where to report the cases. They are there. The Directorate of Student Affairs is there. The Counseling Center is there. But it happens that the students are not able to speak. They don't know the kinds of help they will get when they speak. So this is an education forum that will help them understand.
President of the Women in Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics Ghana, Western Ghana, Professor Ibok Odru, asked stakeholders to facilitate the implementation of the various anti-harassment policies.
So today we are here with our stakeholders to make sure the message that this should stop comes to stay and enforced by all our stakeholders, to listen to it so that we can help others who are in it and be able to implement the policies we have as a people and as a nation.
Beneficiaries expressed delight at the knowledge gained from the workshop.
Most people have been abused and they don't have the courage to be able to speak about these things. But as a participant of this program, I've learned that we have to actually carry this message out there to tell our friends about it, that they should actually have the courage to be able to speak about such stuff.
The Anti-Sexual Harassment Action Project, ASHAP, KNUST, is an association of Commonwealth Universities sponsored project under the Martha Farrell Foundation project.
Let's wrap the news talking about health. And the Bono East Regional Director of Health, Dr. Fred Adomaku-Boateng, says the lack of accommodation facilities has led to the disproportionate distribution of health personnel, particularly doctors, to the various hospitals in his region. Dr. Boateng, who was speaking at the 2022 Annual Performance Review meeting in Kintampo, said, though the region saw 21 new doctors posted during the year under review, only 14 reported due to the unavailability of accommodation facilities in some districts. Anas Sabit, my colleague, now reports.
Observed under the theme, Building Structures for Quality Essential Service Delivery, Preparedness and Response for Emerging and Re-emerging Diseases, the role of the community and strategic partnership, the Bono East Regional Health Directorate held its 2022 Annual Performance Review meeting in the Kintampo North Municipality. The region saw its performance per the 2022 Holistic Assessment improving across certain key indicators, with the region seeing a massive improvement in its doctor-to-population ratio. Dr. Fred Adomaku-Boateng is the Bono East Regional Director of Health Services.
Ananache, Honorable, the doctor-to-population ratio improved from 1 doctor to 20,397 people in 2021 to 1 doctor to 9,101 people in 2022. As against a target of 1 doctor, 7,500 globally.
Though the region's doctor-to-population ratio has been improved generally, with 21 new doctors accepting posters to the area, the region continued to battle with equity in access to skilled delivery in the distribution of doctors.
Nana, we are still battling with geographical equity index, which worsened from 0.1 in 2021 to 0.04 in 2022. Nana, though the doctor-to-population ratio in Bono is improved as against the target, we still saw the challenges with equity index. So though in terms of numbers, we have done well, but in terms of distribution, we are still lagging. This is what we call starvation in the midst of plenty.
This, according to Dr. Fred Adomaku-Boateng, is largely as a result of accommodation challenges, with only 14 out of 21 doctors reporting due to the lack of accommodation in some areas.
Nana, but I want to say there is hope. For the first time in the history of Bono East region, we had a record of 21 doctors
willingly deciding to take posting to Bernice. But when push came to shove, only 14 doctors could report because of accommodation.
He therefore charged key stakeholders in the region to contribute towards supporting the directorate with accommodation facilities to help address the situation.
And we are happy the traditional leaders are here. We are happy the political leaders are here. How do we address this? We as a service will continue to advocate for them to come. But what are we going to do as our role for the community and partners?
And on that note of health, we cap off the news. Stay with us. The news review brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Up next. Well, thank you very much for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for the news review, and we're joined by Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa. No wonder, it's been a while since we had him. The Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Brahima. He joins us this morning as we get into the papers. Mr. Brahima, a very good morning to you. All right, so we'll try to connect with Mr. Suleiman Brahima. I wanted to kickstart the conversation talking about the Muslim month of Ramadan. But right before we get into the salient details, this segment, the news review, is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. If you need any of these, make tracks to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And here's where you can find them. Here in Accra, they're in Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Then in Kumasi, Kronoma Buenhia behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade and Naji Estate is where you can find them. In Tema, they're in Community 22. Two more areas where you can find them. Techiman Hansua and Isiama in Zima. If you want to reach them, the numbers to call 0244 867 068. Alternatively, you could also call 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And this morning, as we kickstart the conversation, I'd just like to reflect on these little bits. One of them has to do with a discussion we had yesterday. My colleague Bernice Lansah led that conversation on those police officers who are now being investigated by the Professional Standards Bureau. That incident, again, I will reiterate, we must get to the bottom of. It's unbecoming of our security services. I mean, what is happening? First, it is the beating of ordinary civilians in Ashaiman, then by the military, then it is the police, literally begging. We don't know whether they are galamseyas for a fact, but these gangsters, so to speak. We've had one of them, the one who filmed that interaction, coming out to say he's not a robber or anything of the sort, and that there was some agreement between them and that he was an informant. But it leaves you with a very sour taste in your mouth. The other bit has to do with Dr. Sir Sam Jonah, who at that 55th congregation at the University of Cape Coast, yesterday I mentioned it and I'm reiterating it today, said that while government has to deal with the economy, it must give a human face to that project. And I'm talking about this in line with the 3 new bills that have been passed into law. Practically all of those in industry that we've spoken to are against it. So why are we here? Well, let me say a very good morning once more to Suleiman Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Mr. Brahima, a very good morning to you. It's been so long.
Yes, good morning, Ben. It's been quite a while.
It has. Yes. I missed having you on this segment, so it's good to reconnect with you. I'm just going to start on a light note. How is the Ramadan going?
Well, it started off quite well for many. Unfortunately, just on the day that Ramadan started, I wasn't quite well, so I was actually on admission. So I missed the first 8 days or so of Ramadan due to ill health. But thankfully, I'm back on my feet and started off joining after day 9. So it's going well.
Awesome. I started by just sharing some thoughts on that video. Undoubtedly, you've seen it, about the police in Axim and begging ordinary civilians. Well, ordinary not meaning that maybe they can throw their weight about when it comes to civilians, but with all the action we saw, it was like an action movie. Not what you'd expect, suggesting that they were in cahoots in some way. And what would be your take on that, in addition to what Dr. Sir Sam Jonas says, that fix the economy, but give it a human face, on the back of, well, linked to the 3 new bills that have been passed in Parliament? Do you have any quick thoughts on that before we start with the daily graphic?
Well, I think the scenes involving the police was quite a worrying one. And as you've said, it's also because over the last couple of months, we've seen a number of developments involving security personnel that, dents their credibility, reputation, and integrity of some sort. But I think it is important that we wait for the investigations that have commenced to continue, for us to see what the conclusions would be. Because in that video, if I'm not wrong, I think I spotted about 2 police officers and quite a number of these folks that initially were said to be people involved in Galamsey. Now, under the circumstances and given that there were 2 police officers, I think they were armed also. The professional thing for these officers to do perhaps was what they did, in order not to engage in anything that may result in casualties because they were armed. And so the fact that the police officer was seen begging may not be...
I don't think that is the focus. It's not. I mean, I just intimated that. But what is behind that entire scene in terms of what engagements have been happening, professionally speaking, between the police and these people? That is of utmost concern.
Yeah, I've heard a number of people, and these are people that I trust. Either these are maybe old-time friends who may have been involved in the acts of Galamsey at one point or the other, saying, look, when they deploy these security people, it certainly doesn't do anything, because at the end of the day, we basically agree with these folks on how much we give them when they come on site. And sometimes, as a result of that arrangement, we are even made to be given a tip-off so that we know that they are coming. We stop and move deeper into the forest and all of that. So it is something that happens. But on this particular occasion, I would say that let us see what the police administration will come up with. I don't think that there would be any acts of cover-up. We've seen in the recent past instances where things would happen, either crime is committed, and within a matter of days, people are arrested. Well, we saw this on video. I think the next day, we're told that these people have been apprehended.
4 of them, right. It's the one who shot the video who is yet to be apprehended. And he spoke up on a different media platform, expressing that he was not a robber. And like I started the conversation by saying, we cannot confirm whether they are galamseyers or robbers or whatever, brigands, whatever they are. But one thing is clear, it doesn't create the best of pictures. And the backstory, why exactly the police has been engaging them in the past, supposedly taking what from them and for what reasons, those are the bits that leave us curious.
Well, I think a lot of all those remain claims. And under the circumstance, would we say these guys were playing smart by saying, we've been engaging you all the time, you agree for us to do this, now you come back and you want us to give you more, or you want us to do that. All those could be, let's reduce all that to claims for now, and look forward to what the investigations would bring out. Because I mean, these people are smart. They could make all manner of claims because they were also recording. Because they were recording, they need to make all manner of claims. It could be true, but for now, given that investigations are ongoing, I think we don't want to be prejudging whatever the police administration says they are doing. So let's wait and see what happens. On Sir Sam Jonah's point about the need for government to have a human touch to whatever it is doing as part of the economic recovery program, I fully and totally agree. But of course, we do also accept that the economy has been crashed. It's been badly run. It is the same government that told us that we will be moved from taxation to production. And now what we are seeing is taxation, taxation, taxation. A lot of people will tell you, yes, we are willing and committed to helping rebuild the economy. We want to make Ghana a better place. Unfortunately, what we see is more taxes are being collected and the more our government becomes corrupt. So the more money they raise, the more they become corrupt. And that is the pain of the people. I don't think that if you go to places like Denmark, in Sweden, in Norway, and all those places where sometimes people are paying income taxes up to about 40, 50%, if we had that situation here, I think that a lot of people will happily pay. But we have a situation where it's about pay for government officials to loot, and that is the problem. Right now, the economy is dry. What it means is that they have little to loot. Now we are going to pay more, and it means that they will have more to loot, and that is the problem that we find ourselves in. So if government was being frank with the people, monies are being paid, the monies go to productive sectors, invested in places that would really relieve the pain of the people, I don't think that we will have a lot of concern. But this government has shown that it's in there to loot, and that is why we are where we are. So the problem is the looting for me, and not even how much taxes that people are paying.
Let's get into the papers. The Daily Graphic this morning saying, addressing food insecurity, Agric needs new model. Professor Nzamujo says so. And in recent times, we've been hearing from the former Minister for Agric, who is also contending for the flag bearership slot of the MPP, talking about some of these related matters. Some have questioned, though, what he did while being Agric Minister, but others have also justified him with all his thoughts on Agric, saying, well, he may have been minister, sector minister, but he wasn't ultimately the one who pulled the strings, including the purse strings. But let's get into that story. A Reverend Father and computer engineer, Professor Father Godfrey Nzamujo, has called for a systemic paradigm shift in the agricultural and food systems to address the issue of food security. He said the old conventional way of food production and agriculture were ineffective and a major challenge to food security, and therefore called for a radical change to address the current food security challenges confronting the country. He also is the founder of the Songhai Center in Benin, and he was speaking at the maiden edition of the Graphic National Development Series in Kumasi last week. He also said, producing food with a surplus for a rainy day, the integrated approach. While he was speaking on that, the Catholic priest who has revolutionized sustainable farming in Benin and parts of Africa said there was the need to move away from the piecemeal, disjointed approach to agriculture to a fully integrated ecological system where everything works together. Quote, finally, we must recognize that conventional agriculture is inefficient due to the low utilization of solar energy in the conventional system. When I contemplate agriculture, Sule, I just see that we have everything. Our land is so rich. We have swathes of it, and it is rich across the length and breadth of the country, from north to south, east to west. We have water resources, which we've polluted, by the way, but we still have them. I watched a video, I forget, I think it was sometime earlier this year. It must have been the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia. I think it was the UAE. And they had basically converted desert land, especially in the context of Ukraine, Russia, and the war between them, and the fact that a lot of wheat production has been whittled off. They created, I think, on the desert, they created these green fields that were producing wheat. I've forgotten whether it was about the size of 500 football stadia, but just imagine that. In desert land, and they are making the most of it. And here, we have everything, and we're not making anything out of it. Some have said that if we get agriculture alone right, we could change our fortunes and never head back to the IMF. What do you think?
Well, we continue to find ourselves in a very unfortunate situation of having people being given the role and the mandate to lead sectors, and the only time they prove us how best to do it is when they are out of power to seek even a higher power. And that is what our Agri Minister, for example, has done. He's been given that opportunity for the last 6 years to manage our agri sector, and it is only when he resigned to now seek to become the president of the country that he is telling us how best we can run our agricultural sector. That is, for me, the tragedy that we find ourselves in. We, as you know, once he resigned, the president appointed somebody whose background is security to manage our agriculture. And that should tell you how unserious our government is about that particular sector. So, as I said, it's about the interests of the people in power, not the interests of our nation. And as we go along, it appears that year on year, day by day, the leaders of our country think more about what they would have now and far less of what the next generation would face in our country. If we get our agri rights, absolutely a lot of things will change. We still import tomato from Burkina Faso. We still import onion from Burkina Faso, desert Burkina Faso. And you are right about UAE. It's a desert country, and they are one of the biggest exporters of fruits and vegetables. How come? It's all about leadership. It's all about vision. And for me, these are absolutely the indicators that should we have everything: fertile land, forest, vegetation that will support all manner of crops, and yet we are where we are. It's not just this government. Government after government, we've seen the same situation, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, indeed. Let's get into some other stories. Hopefully someday we get this situation right. But commit more resources to mental health delivery, Dr. Agyemang, to government. And this one, we've spoken about it so often, I do not even know. I remember the last time we were talking about Pantang, that medical facility where even medical staff, doctors, psychiatrists, and others, there's a building that they shouldn't be in, but because of a lack of accommodation, that is where they find themselves. It could cave in at any point, but they are there. They've been left there for, I think, over 2 years, when in fact, it's just disastrous the way we approach mental health. But I'll get into that story. And another story I'll be getting into, President Shi's state position on LGBTQ+. That's according to the Most Reverend Joseph Osaibunsu, Catholic Bishop of Konongo Mampong, and the Catholic Church getting forceful on that matter. Let's look at those two stories, both of them on page 16, and then I'll take a story from the back page of the paper. So government must commit resources to mental health delivery to ensure convenient and effective services for those who require help. With suicide now decriminalized, there is the need for a strategic, intentional recruitment and engagement of mental health professionals in the country, in mainstream government health agencies, to provide professional and needed support for people with mental health problems who may seek help. The national president of the Ghana Psychological Association, Dr. Collins Bedu Agyemang, who made the call in an interview with the Daily Graphic, said, quote, "If the health delivery system does not promote well-being and prevent the onset of mental health challenges by engaging psychologists at the workplaces, in schools and communities, then the country may not be able to prevent people from getting into the pathways of mental health, including suicide." So you've decriminalized it, but if you don't put in place the right measures, people will still fall prey to it. And especially in these economic times, dire economic times, if the right systems are not in place, who knows, God forbid, what could happen. President Shi's state position on LGBTQ+, the Catholic Bishop of Konongo Mampong in the Ashanti region, the Most Reverend Osaibunsu, has called on President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to state unequivocally what his position is on the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer issue. Quoting him, he says, "I would also be most grateful if you could state unequivocally what your position on LGBTQ plus is. I request this because many Ghanaians are not sure of your position on this matter, while they are clear about the position of some of your predecessors who have made their positions clear and unambiguous, he said. He made the call in an open letter to the president dated April the 3rd, 2023, which is this yesterday. And he adds, I am writing to you today as a citizen of Ghana in connection with 3 statements that you have made as president of the Republic of Ghana concerning the issue of LGBTQI+. I find inconsistencies in them, and I would be most grateful if you could clarify them for me, it said. On that very point, Mr. Brima, there's also the rhetoric that this is a fine line we have to walk, and that Mr. President has to find some sort of middle ground, especially as recently when Kamala Harris came into the country, we're expecting some $100+ million. They are facilitating an IMF program and all of that. So politically speaking, the president must be politically correct. What do you make of that entire discourse? So 2 issues for your reflection.
Yes, the issue of mental health. Only yesterday, I was in a conversation with a group of people, and it was, high on the agenda. And all of us need it. Because people who are mentally ill sometimes wouldn't even know that they are mentally ill. And at one point or the other, we all may need some psychological examination to just be sure that we are fine. Because the folks who are either have gone naked on the streets and so on, when you meet them and you were to talk to them, they would not tell you that they are insane. In fact, they would rather assume that you are rather insane. And so mental health is a very, very important issue that I don't know the number of times Dr. Kwesi Osei, for example, has repeated the issues, within our mental health sector. And then the statement that you've just alluded to from the current president. It's a matter that, as a country, we need to take quite serious. But do we even take anything serious in this country? And perhaps it is because, as a country, we are all sick. Because sometimes when you travel and you see how things work, infrastructure, how their economies are being run. And then you imagine that people who are leading us have been to all these places.
Right.
The question I keep asking myself is, aren't these people ashamed when, they come to places like this, when they meet their counterparts from places like this? But hey, we live in a country where, even mentally, a lot of things are going on. And I would add my voice to the fact that we need to do more in that particular sector. But again, if you have a health minister who gets COVID and says that, I'm resting at a health facility, maybe on LGBTQ, I think that I really don't know about those who say the president needs to state his position quite clearly. First of all, the president is not ultimately the lawmaker, as the Speaker of Parliament said. And I have listened to the president. And indeed, he certainly is in a tight situation. We are a country that have signed up to all manner of international conventions.
Mr. Brima, we're struggling a bit with your connection. Okay, you can go ahead now. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
I was making the point about the fact that we've committed to a number of international human rights charters. And we need to navigate these properly, because we cannot pick and choose. We cannot go and sign, oh yes, all these are human rights, human rights must be protected at all times. And the reality is that you and I know that even when you catch a thief, they say the thief has a right. And the conversation is about how do we protect the rights of people. If we think people do is not right, we think that, must we then say that such people should never have rights within our territory? I think that is what the conversation is about. And therefore, I find it difficult to appreciate those who are saying the president hasn't made his position quite clear. I don't think it's about the president saying, yes, the matter is before Parliament.
So, Mr. Brima, we're still struggling a lot to hear from you. What we'll try and do is we'll reach you via the phone. Maybe that will be better because we have a few minutes left. So we'll try to do that, Mr. Brima, with all apologies. We'll try to reach you via the phone lines shortly. I was going to make mention of the story on the back page of the Daily Graphic. Man arrested for attacking ECG staff, and he did so. He's an aluminium fabricator, Agbezuka Sairam, and he actually attacked one of the staff of the ECG during an exercise, and one of these ongoing illegal connection exercises of cutting off those with illegal connections. And that is the story on the back page. But the Ghanaian Times newspaper, there's the story about the president being emphatic on LGBTQ. That story makes it here as well. Most Reverend Joseph Osei-Bonsu pictured there. Police arrest man for allegedly assaulting ECG workers. That story also makes it here. 5 political parties push for amendment of 1992 Constitution, and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission starts nationwide payroll cleanup to get rid of ghost names, irregularities, and undeserving allowances, among others. Let's take a quick look at those 2 stories. There's also this one that I'll just mention in passing. Africa Rising, Ghana shows brilliance as Lois Mensah wins Best Speaker at Africa Leadership Academy Model African Union. That story on page 7. But let's get to representatives of 5 political parties who have reiterated the need to amend certain aspects of the 1992 Constitution in order to meet the demands of the changing times. They were the former chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Peter Mark Menu, communications officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, and the general secretary of the People's National Convention, Janet Nabla. The others were the general secretary of the Convention People's Party, CPP, Nanaya Ajantwe, and the national secretary of the Progressive People's Party, Remy Edmondson. Those are the stories there. Then there is also this one on page 13. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has commenced a nationwide payroll monitoring exercise as part of measures to clean up government payroll and ensure equity. And all of those stories in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I just wanted to make mention of this as well since I cited it. Winner takes all, politics heightening unhealthy rivalry. Governance advisor, I'm talking about the CEO of the John Kufuor Foundation, Professor Jan Bafo, or Professor Bafo Ajimandria, I should say. And then Tony Edu bemoans lack of transformative policies of political parties. Do we have Suleimana Brima back on the line? Hello, Mr. Brima. Okay, let's make tracks. Let's wrap this up. The Daily Guide newspaper. Hello, Mr. Brima. Can you hear me? Okay, we'll try to get Mr. Brima once more on the line. The Daily Guide newspaper now. NDC supporters police clash over Savelugu MP arrest. There is Nantong MP treated in Parliament washroom. That's according to Habib. Galamsey man drops bomb on police. That story on page 3. The very one I've been speaking about. Mahama excited over Kobia's support, and he was due to contest him in the flag bearership contest, but he's dropped off to support the former president instead. Another major Mahama killer denies involvement. That story on page 6. But let's do the one on page 3. So Kwame Atuasare, the prime suspect of the purported gang that allegedly attacked the police patrol team of the Axim Police Command in the Western region and is on the run, has made some wild allegations against the police. He has admitted that indeed he was the one in the viral video in which some police personnel were seen bowing down to some alleged Galamsey men. Galamsey in quote, in an apologetic manner. In that trending video, the alleged Galamsey men were seen in a heated confrontation with the police and accused the men in black of taking bribes from the illegal miners and attempting to arrest them. So he has spoken, and like I intimated earlier, he says he is not a robber. He is in fact an informant, among others. We'll see how that plays out as the police continue with their investigations. But right before we go, the Finder newspaper, nationwide payroll monitoring begins, whistleblowers to be rewarded, and the graphic business, where I'm going to end. New taxes kick in. Prepare for job cuts, businesses warn. And this one reflects a conversation I had with Mark Bedu Abwaje, CEO of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce. And business groups have signaled strong intentions to cut jobs, shut down some production lines, and increase prices, all in response to the passage of 3 revenue bills that they had vehemently opposed. The Association of Ghana Industries, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Ghana Union of Traders Association said the measures were needed to keep their operations afloat while they waited for the much-touted relief that a bailout from the IMF was envisaged to bring. And that is the situation there. They are saying if this goes ahead, job losses are going to be a concomitant effect, spin-off of this entire situation. Well, that's how we cap off the news. And right before we get into sports this morning, just to let you know, this segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and we're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. Where can you locate us? Here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Enzima. You can reach us via the phone lines 0244 867 068. That is 0244 867 068. There is also 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. So we get into sports, but would like to start on a very interesting note. He is only 10 years old. He walks on one leg, yet he plays the beautiful game of football, which requires full functionality in both legs. Abdallah wants to play for English Premiership side Liverpool and in some of the biggest leagues in the world. That is his dream. He is defying the odds in a city where some physically challenged children are used to begging for alms. We have a special one for you from our freelance journalist, Justice Baidu, who has Abdallah's story.
Tamale's future football stars on their runs, preparing for a big game. This is the Blackpool Football Club. These boys, many of them under 10 years, represent the city's next generation of footballers. Amongst them, one-legged Abdallah, aided on his runs by his crutches.
When I play in a number 3 position. My friend Swatik plays number 10. Brahim plays the number 2. Sometimes we interchange the positions and I can play 11.
On a dusty red earth pitch, few meters away from Tamale's biggest sports stadium, 10-year-old Abdul Razak Abdallah kicks a ball around, aiming for the goal. He's different from all the boys out here on the field playing. Abdallah was born with a rare condition that meant his right leg had to be amputated before his first birthday.
When you come to Tamale, you find so many physically challenged people begging for money. I want to be different. I don't want to beg. I want other kids to see me and to be different.
Abdallah, open, Abdallah.
From the crowd watching, he's cheered on by Abdul Razak Salifu, his 47-year-old father.
It was we're just having the belief in God, that it was God's will, so we can't do anything. The only thing we should do is to help him. And he liked football so much. After football there, we watch football together. Actually, in the house, we also like football. And he is the only Liverpool supporter in our house. We support Manchester United and Chelsea are there in the house, but he's the only Liverpool supporter in the house.
I love Liverpool because of their style of football. That's why I want to play for Liverpool.
Tamale, the biggest town in northern Ghana, has very few spaces for physically challenged children like Abdallah to build on their talents. He's hoping playing in the game here would help him catch the attention that could be the springboard into a Paralympic team on the world stage. Justice Baidu for JoyNews in Tamale.
Morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abla. We start with boxing and former WBO welterweight champion Joshua Clottey. He says that Ghanaian boxers must go through the amateur ranks to help them build themselves before competing at the highest level. According to him, most of the boxers are not durable enough when it comes to competing for world title. He was speaking on George Sports today on Monday.
Boxing is all about amateur. When you have a very good record in amateur, or you fought best guys in amateur, or you've been in amateur for a long time, anytime you come to professional, it doesn't matter if you have 5 fights, 3 fights, 6 fights. You're already ready for any championship because of the amateur. And this guy is 2 times Olympic gold medalist. And he was messed up in first professional fight because he doesn't take training serious. So he started picking himself up. And I know that he's going to fight, when he's going to fight with Dogbe, it's going to be a very, very tough fight because he's amateur, 2 times Olympic gold medalist. And he is good. He's very smart. He takes the time. He always makes sure that he doesn't even punch like that. He punch when he knows that he's going to go or connect. So at the end of the day, I know it's going to be a tough fight. And besides that, my problem with Dogbe is, as I keep saying that, Dogbe is a very, very body snatcher. He hits body very good. But the problem about Dogbe is about his defense. Because anytime you try to throw punches at Dogbe always defenseless. But if Dogbe try as much as possible and he know how to defend himself in the ring, he's going to beat people, trust me.
Joshua, just a quick one. So where did Isaac get it wrong in this fight against Robertson Ramirez?
Well, I think he has to, like I said, when we make the interview, I was telling you, he has to stop on the guy, stay on the guy, stay on him. You don't even have to let him grip. You don't even have to let him stand. You people standing like when he stands, then you try, like you want the guy to take his time in just boxing. Dogbe allow the guy to take his time. Sometimes he stand like he's trying to watch what Dogbe is doing. Then if Dogbe throw his punches, he always do his counter punching. And Dogbe allow the guy to be free too much. They allow him to be free too much. He's supposed to stop on him. That's all. I believe that he's going to beat the guy.
Isaac Dogbe called for a rematch against Robertson Ramirez, but Larry Warden, who is a member of the Robertson team, says it is not possible that rematch would be happening. Let's move from boxing and do football now. And in the Ghana Premier League match day 25, at the Dance Park, Bibiani Gold Stars came up against Legon Cities, and 5 goals were produced within the first 45 minutes in that contest. And in the end, it was Bibiani Gold Stars who walked away with a 3-2 victory.
Kobo hook. Gold Stars looking good. Here comes Evans Owusu. He cuts back. And it's an open goal. Bibiani Gold Stars jump into the lead through Abednego Tete. Early stages in the game, and Gold Stars have already shot into the lead. Here's Mreku for Legon Cities. There's a chance. Amega, and that's the equalizer. Legon Cities right back in it. They just found the equalizer. Gold Stars went to sleep and they've been punished. That's Mreku's ball. It was harmless, but Amaga pounced on it because Farouk Adams was a bit late. And Legon Cities have drawn level. He finds Mreku. Mreku is back for Amaga. Then Amaga goes for glory again. Keeper fails to deal with it first time. Osebos scores the second for Legon Cities. And they've shot Gold Stars in Bibiani. It's Legon Cities who have jumped into the lead through Eric Osebonsu. It's 16 minutes. It's Gold Stars 1, Legon Cities 2. He switched from the left to the right. That's what to pick out. Owusu sends the cross and Suleiman heads it away. Here's Apeu. Now Banahine. Back to Apeu. He sends a cross. Jemfi Kamara, and he finds the equalizer. His first goal of the season, Charles Jemfi Kamara. I was just talking about him, how he's been one of the best players for Gold Stars this season, but yet to sparkle in this game. And now he has registered his name on the score sheet. Yaya Adraman's delivery. Here is Jemfi Kamara. He sets up Banahine. It's a powerful drive, but he just goes over the top for a goal kick. And Michael Osei is impressed. Otu. He's looking for Mreku, and he finds Mreku. Here is Joseph Mreku up against Owusu. He sends a cross. This time, it goes outside for a goal kick. Now, Apeu picks it up for Gold Stars. He finds Prince Owusu. Owusu sends a cross, and Abednego Tete gets his second on the day, and the third for Gold Stars. A man on fire, a Gold Stars shining. Abednego Tete is unstoppable.
Keenly contested game. Both teams did their best. They had their chances and they took them. We also took some chances. But to sum it up, I'm saying it's a good thing. They've been playing well at home. We came and we did our best, but it wasn't just enough to carry the day. You know, every center and how you have to psych your boys to approach it. We know that this was a good pitch. We could play our football, so we came here to play football. And that is what we did. And getting to the latter part of the stage, we saw that they were a bit tired. So we kept the ball to ourselves and kept playing until that incident happened. So I think our boys did well. We are proud of them. We only have to go home and keep pushing until we get out of the relegation zone.
I would say it was a very dicey game, very difficult. Looking at the position the opponent are, you can see they are frustrated. So they came all out. But we started the game very, very well. And then we got the early goal. And then later on, I think we slept a little. And then they were equalized and then get another goal. But we came back into the game again. And then we scored another 2 goals. But later in the second half, I think we were a little bit looking like strugglish and so on. But we were able to manage to get the 3 points, because I said before, the 3 points matters most, because looking the position or looking the league log, we needed these 3 points badly. So I'm happy for the team. I'm happy for the community that with these points we have got in the 24 matches. I think we have to be happy and then move on, make it better in the next games.
The Association of Parasports and Powerlifting in the Ashanti region has organized a program to ensure that they unearth the next group of athletes who will represent Ghana in para competitions. There was a float in Kumasi which is meant to create awareness of para sports in the country. There's more in the following report.
According to the organizers, the program is also aimed at identifying new talents for para sports to replace the current corps of aging para athletes in the region. Speaking to Love Sports on the sidelines of the event, board chair of the association, Dr. Isaac Donko, bemoaned the lack of attention and support towards para sports, which he says has produced a lot of medals for the country at international competitions.
The condition, first of all, is horrible, but I know with support from others, easily this thing can be done. The coaches are there, they are ready to scout to get the best athletes out there, the best challenge people who are ready to learn and train them to come out and compete. Just last week, one of the guys in Kumasi went to South Africa and won the gold medal in high jump for the nation. So we know very well that as time goes on, those up-and-coming ones will be trained by the coaches and they can go out and compete for the nation.
Dr. Donko also called on the authorities to come to their aid with modern training equipments to replace the current equipment, some of which have been in use since 1978.
This very machine has been here since 1978. It was delivered right after the reconstruction of the stadium in 1978 for the African Cup of Nations, which Ghana won. We just came into the picture and we're trying to let people know what is going over here and see how best they can help us to, solidify or fortify this or get the right equipment here for the para team. We spoke to those in authority to see how best they can assist us to purchase some machines here that could help us to train or can help the para team to train. So we're waiting for them to come to our aid.
The Ashanti region has produced some outstanding para athletes for the country in recent times. Two of such personalities are Patrick Yaobin and Felix Echampong, who have together won 31 medals for the country competing on the international stage. This is their plea to the authorities.
My winning 17 medals, 3 swag awards. I was in the Ebrequa. Now, a modern body in a locomotive. You can't locomotive, I may come and say, a year equipment that yesterday, one had a rejected, and one a dear trainer, dear choirs are competitions, dear just medals, you go saying, Nina, yes, old equipment now. I was stadium when I rejected. No, because I rejected because of your CC stadium. No, only a new gym. But old one, nobody could go as you and no moment, dear trainer. I mean, to me, I call just medals, do your moon has saying, and she said, I call your basse. Did that die to me? I called you near the modern one. I was soon then be a prayer of my boy and home down. A debate in the BC.
Meda the main cry, no, actually, my best a year, marginal. What they, apart from athletics, no air racing, no the badminton can over 15 or 16 medals. And then me cry. Yeah, and I will share medals do a physical strength. Any modern boy for training and the Aji. You share equipment I want now. Over here, I ask him a old equipment I friend magazine made. I am more than one or outside. I am more than one who use some of year for endurance a bomb. And so share the use here. And they be growing at I was a very weak in some metals. Any other equipment they use to MY. The best say new ones are no best as a man for MY. Now, young sweet me a day. Achieve what DSC and sweet me achieve with the boy and with the boy, my Ghana.
On his path, President of the association, Benjamin Ano, is calling on government and corporate Ghana for support while acknowledging the support from others who have helped in the survival of the association.
We want to say a big thank you to Coach Sam Edo. When you see this program that now we have organized, he is the brain behind everything. Looking at the support that we are expecting to help them, to groom them, for them to go onto the field and then participate for Ghana to win medals, we are not getting it fully. Looking at their gym where they train, they are still using the old equipment for the training. And now we are praying that we'll get outsiders and even the National Sports Authority and other organizations to come in and help us so that we will renovate the gym so that they will have new equipment for the upcoming athletes, those that we are registering them today, so that they can get new equipment to train and win medals for Ghana.
For JoyNews, Delali.
That's your sports for now. We do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com. The M show continues right after this.
A succinct diagnosis of the African challenge by President Paul Kagame. Under President Kagame, Rwanda has risen from a country ravaged by genocide when 800,000 people were slaughtered just 29 years ago to become a country now ranked first on the continent and amongst the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world, pre and post COVID-19, according to the African Development Bank. His Rwandan Patriotic Front Party, RPF, was created by a group of Rwandese in exile who fought to end the genocide. This week, the party turns 35. At an international conference to mark the anniversary, the party focused exclusively on policy and not politics, inviting international experts to discuss the African problem and propose solutions. What was fascinating was how the international panel of experts openly challenged President Kagame at his own party conference in a healthy exchange of ideas. It started when the former president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Donald Kaberuka, suggested that Africa's challenge was mainly failure to properly diagnose our problems and apply the right solutions.
Before you answer how, you have to answer what. And I'm not even sure that you have answered the what. So let me give you an example. So we're now talking about the energy transition, which will depend a lot on a number of minerals. Maybe there are 3 or 4, I think. And are you certain that countries owning those minerals are not going to make the mistake which countries exporting oil and gas have not made? I'm not sure about that. So if we're going to say, this is how we do something, but what are you doing in the first place? So, how do I put this to you? Every single country in Africa I visited, and I visited all of them except one, has a strategy, 30-year strategy, 40-year strategy, all right? You are right, where they fail is on implementation. But often it is because the what itself has not been well thought out, all right? So it is important to answer how, but you must also answer what are you going to do. I'm not certain that in many countries, the what has been answered.
President Kagame, in his front row seat, raised his hand, appealed to speak, and disagreed.
We've been places, all of us, and we've been in search of what is it that we can do in Africa to put the transformation journey on track as we wish to. So actually the problem which Donald talked about also is that implementation. It's actually the main issue. You said that you are not saying that there are no implementation issues. Actually, this is the problem. Forget about the how or the what. The how and the what have been answered by you even now on the sitting there in the panel. They have been answered before, several times, for years. When it comes to doing things, we either do nothing or do the wrong things.
The expert panel stood their ground. Professor at Harvard University, Dr. Celestine Monga, insisted their position on the matter was the right one.
I would still dare say that I'm on the side of Dr. Kaberuka on this one, simply because, yes, we've seen solutions, we've heard ideas at conferences, but many times we also have wrong ideas in the books, and we implement the wrong ideas. So I still think that in some questions, the what is still relevant. What should we do? What should we not do? I see in many African countries, I was very happy among many nice jobs that I had. One of the most meaningful was to be chief economist, vice president of the African Development Bank, because it was for me really the opportunity to serve the continent. I had bigger jobs before that, but that one was so far to me the most meaningful. And I could tell you, Mr. President, that I had interaction with a lot of ministers and prime ministers and presidents who believe in the wrong ideas. So I think that the what, in some situations, is still relevant.
President Kagame will not give in, making another comeback, calling out African countries for either doing nothing about their problems or doing the wrong things.
Because we're asking the what of two kinds. What do we have to do ourselves, Rwanda, the continent? And then there is the what that has been answered in other places by other people to get to where they are that we want to be. So, of course, countries have different contexts. But this does not preclude the point I'm trying to make. Saying, then you learn from the experience of other places who have answered the what in their context. That brings you closer to understand the what in your context.
In an apparent reference to Ghana, the only country in West Africa to have formally applied to the IMF for a bailout, the former president of AFDB used Ghana as an example to support President Kagame's point.
That, for example, a country in West Africa, please no names, which was the first one to go to the IMF and begin general economic reforms, is back to the IMF today. Please, no names. Why? A combination of domestic indiscipline, macroeconomic indiscipline, and these external shocks. So as a result, they have lost what I call political space, fiscal space, policy space. The decisions they're now implementing are not their decisions. Why? Because during the days when things were very good, they did all the wrong things. They ticked all the wrong boxes. Massive borrowing, for example, massive spending, huge levels of the deficit, without building the resilience for when the days will be difficult. I can think now of about 14 countries in Africa who are in that phase. So the first thing I think our message we're passing here is that restoring that degree of economic independence begins by economic discipline.
Ghana's fall from economic grace to grass is being noticed across the continent. But one thing became obvious to me. This was a Rwandan governing party marking its 35th anniversary, and yet their first order of business was to assemble an international expert panel to talk policy. Experts not fazed by a partisan audience, extremely disciplined in their tolerance, I must add, who dared to challenge the president at his own party conference. If only the NDC and the MPP can adopt this policy over politics approach, Ghana may well be on its way back to economic grace.
And that was put together by head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, who is in Rwanda attending that particular conference. Thank you so much for staying with us. Hope you're safe wherever you are. It's raining here in Accra, so please stay safe. If you haven't yet left home, just be sure where you are going to and what the situational conditions are over there so you stay safe, okay? But it's now time for us to delve into our big issues for the morning. And we start on with the issue concerning Ghana's Education Service Occupational Pension Scheme. And you may be aware that a group, Innovative Teachers, has been raising concerns about the use of that money meant to secure the future of teachers. And I've been joined this morning by its founder, Stephen Dacey. Stephen, good to have you here. Good morning
Bernice.
to you. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, and you?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking. So you were here a few months back to discuss GSOP and your concerns about the use of the funds, and you were seeking some answers.
Yes.
A few months down the line, have you gotten those answers? Are you satisfied with them, even if you've gotten them at all?
Yes, with the letter dated 14th March 2023, we got some response from GSOP Board of Trustees based on our right to information request that will be filed. And some of the response that they gave, you know, is unsatisfactory. Some are outright lies. Some are, they decided not to answer some of the questions. But you see, most importantly, most of the requests that we are making, they're saying that they need close to 6,000 from us before they provide the information. And for us, that's where our problem is. You are a custodian, you are a trustee, you are the person looking after something on behalf of close to 400,000 public sector employees. You know, you are just somebody looking after something. So if the contributors ask you questions pertaining to the use or the management of the funds in your care, you cannot say that you are demanding money.
Have you taken this to the RTI Commission?
Not yet, because we filed extra 34 more questions for them to answer based on law. And this response that they brought, there are some portions that we need to clarify some issues with them through our lawyers.
Okay.
And also ask more questions based on the answers that they gave. So we are not there yet. We have options as to the RTI Commission.
Okay.
And to, again, perhaps resort to the law courts to force for the provision of the information that we're requesting.
Let's go through some of the earlier questions and the responses that you received. So you wanted a copy of, or all copies of the relevant documents from the temporary pension fund account covering the amount released by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority or Ministry of Finance into the GSOPS account.
Yes.
And this was the response you got. A schedule of the assets released to GSOPS will be made available to your clients upon their payment of the aforementioned fees, and that's what you're worried about.
Yes.
And those fees are 5,865 Ghana cedis, representing a total of 3,910 of printed pages. Okay, but they're saying that similar information may be obtained from the GSOPS audited financial statements since 2016, which have been posted on the GSOPS website. Posting of GSOPS audited financial statements started on the GSOPS website in 2020 and can be accessed using this link, and they provide a link. Did you click on the link? Did you open it? Did you get those answers that you wanted?
Well, we've not clicked the link because it's like an electoral commission organizing an election at the polling station. Then after 5 p.m., orders everybody to leave the polling station and gathers all the ballot boxes, ballot papers inside to EC headquarters. After 4 weeks, a winner is announced. Are you going to believe that result?
So you're saying that you don't trust the audited results on the GSOPS website?
It is not a matter of believing or not believing. The issue is that the amount that was used to start the whole process ought to have made known to the workers. And for this, we are not only speaking for only teachers.
But won't that be included in the audited accounts? Won't you see the amount they started with, how much they've dispensed, what they used, what for?
I get what you're saying. I'm saying that. We are not talking about just mention figures. We are talking about documentation. That covers everything that was given to them, especially from Bank of Ghana. Again, you are a custodian of workers' money. And if you are going to request for money from, say, the custodian account at Bank of Ghana, from 2010, January 2010 to 2016, you ought to request for one audited account. Did they show any audited account to anybody from that account that you're talking about audited account here?
But you haven't visited the website. How will you know what is on there?
They are talking about the audited account that they have done based on the money they received. We are asking for the audited account on the money at Bank of Ghana. The bank statement that they were giving, that's what we are requesting for. So in our 34 questions that we requests that we're making, it's part of it. Our issue here is that after providing all these documents, then we are good to go as to whether to believe your audited account or not. Because if you just be pointing at audited accounts, you and I were in this country where, you know, the Bank of Ghana were visiting some banks in Ghana and know what they were doing based on a report that came. We don't want to go into that. So just pointing to audited account means nothing. It means nothing. And for us, we just want the raw documentation covering these things that they are trying to use in terms of managing our pension funds, because it's very important to us.
Okay. So for those of you who may not be aware of what GSOPS is and what it is about, it is the Ghana Education Service Occupational Pension Scheme. And it's voluntary, right?
No. It's compulsory for all GES workers. And when we talk about GES workers, we're talking about the teachers and auxiliary workers. So the cooks, the watchmen, the drivers, those administrative staff are GES.
Right.
All of us together from that group. And we constitute close to 60-65% of all public sector workers.
So this is a tier 2 pension?
Yes.
Okay. So on the GSOP's website, they say this is the GSOP's promise: to manage the scheme professionally, to promptly pay benefits, to simplify porting of benefits, to provide regular updates and prioritize customer service. I'm interested in providing regular updates. Do you receive regular updates?
We don't. We don't. And you see, the issue here...
Hold on. How were you told that those regular updates will be given to you? What medium will those updates?
We've not been told.
Because I'm currently on the website and I'm seeing quite a lot of recent reports, even regional reports. Doesn't that constitute regular updates?
What I'm trying to put across to you and the viewers out there is not about what they are posting there. We are requesting for instance, every month they take money from the contributors through controller. They never quote that this month we got say for 10,000 cedis from the teachers or education workers in Ghana. We want to see those records. So from there, then we talk about those fund managers or the fund managers on all those people that have recruited to run the affairs of the based on law, the pension law. If we get all these, then we know that this will be the money that will be left in terms of net. Because what comes in will be gross. And then after taking all these, we'll get what's called net. It is the net that when the teacher is going on retirement, that computation will be done on his behalf. Now, we don't know how much they are giving to all the service providers. Everything is in the dark.
So you don't know what percentage of your money goes into GSOP?
We know. But I'm saying that you see your money, just like I gave the example of voting. Your ballot box will be placed, you put it in a ballot box. But as to whether the vote will count or not, it's a different matter when it comes to counting. What I'm saying is that we know. But the issue is the quantum amount that we don't know of all. That's what they're using, not from individuals.
Okay, so beyond what you're requesting, you're also saying or claiming that the board is mismanaging your funds. You talk about the use of the cash for certain sponsorship deals. And you requested, again, a copy or copies of all documents regarding how much was used to sponsor the Ghana Teachers Prize 2022 from GSOP's funds, as was advertised on Joy FM. And on the occasion of the ceremony, Dr. Christian Adaipoku, the Registrar of the National Teaching Council, said the GSOP sponsored the Ghana Teachers Prize 2022 as a headline sponsor. The response is that the letter of sponsorship for the 2022 Teacher Prize will be made available to your clients upon their payment of the aforementioned fees. And once again, you're being asked to pay for printing.
Well, okay, so let me take the printing aspect from here. You remember the case of Manasa Azurawini versus the Minerals Commission, of course. When the ICR Commission came in, the amount was reduced drastically. So our lawyers will respond to this by asking them what went to that close to 6,000 amount that they are requesting for. But to talk about the mismanagement and the use of money for sponsorship and all that, now they are acknowledging that they use our money because the evidence is clear. At the event, it was live on JoyNews on Multi TV, where Christian Adaipoku, the registrar of NTC, said on the podium that our money has been used to sponsor the best Ghana Teachers Prize as a headline sponsor. Now, the pension, the second tier is regulated by the National Pension Act, Act 2008, Act 766. Now, if you talk about the regulation in terms of how the money should be managed, it's here in the law. You cannot go outside and act ultra-vires based on what the law says, as in the trustees. So if you go and use our money for sponsorship, first of all, this is not where it started from. It started from when they used our money to sponsor the one teacher, one laptop, if you remember. One teacher, one laptop. Good. Now, anybody who has done finance, if you ask them and they ask what's the meaning of pre-finance, definitely it's a loan. And that's why they charge interest of 18% on it, based on their own press statement they released on 7 December 2021 when they said that they use our pension funds for the best teachers prize. And when you look at the LI, every act from Parliament, Council, and LI that states how the law should be implemented. Now, when you look at the LI section 36 talk about conflict of interest. Now, note this: the union leadership have representation on the GISOP board. These same people then went for a contract. These same people then selected their own company, then jump off the fence as GISOP board of trustees, use our money to sponsor a company that they have chosen as union leaders. So you see the conflict of interest position here. Now let's move for the section 36. If you move to section 2B, it says that an approved trustee, pension fund manager, or agent of an approved trustee or pension fund manager shall not apply pension funds assets under its manager by way of loans and credits or as collateral for a loan taken by any person. So this is the law. They knew this, and yet they use our money for that.
No, but a sponsorship is not a loan.
No, I'm not. Oh, actually, even this one is worse. It's even worse than this. I am talking
You're
about
referring to
the genesis of the problem, where it started from.
Right.
Where they started veering off the road of the law, and now they are in the bush. Somewhere in the bush, they are just roaming in the bush. And we want to bring them back to the main highway. Now, the issue here is this. After they use our money for this, then we filed the request for them, asking them how much they're giving to KA Technology from our money. Now, this is the response that the money that they gave to KA Technologies, they didn't state it, but they said it didn't come from the scheme's account. Now, the scheme account is by law at Prudential Bank. That's the custodian account. You have to be registered before you are deemed as legal for you to deal with a second-tier pension scheme. So when the money is deducted from controller, it ends up at Prudential Bank. So the question is, how did the money end up in an account which is not the scheme's account? These are questions that you will answer later. But what I'm saying is that the genesis of this problem started with a one teacher, one laptop. As we speak today, primary school teachers who, their number will be more than 160,000, have not received their laptops. The question is, what is happening? The people who led the process are quiet, they are not talking. The teachers are agitating on social media, and the best way to resolve the matter will be to assure them and give them reasons why the laptops have not been given to them close to 17 months or more than 17 months after deducting their professional development allowance. But there's nothing coming from them. But you see, this sponsorship.
Have you received your laptop?
Myself? Well, I and a group of teachers went to court, if you remember. We led the process of going to court against this laptop. And from the principle that a product that we have stood against and spoken against, I will not go for such a product. I have not gone for any laptop, and I don't need any laptop. And indeed, the money that they took from all teachers, professional development allowance, was done illegally. It was done criminally. The teachers, by law, pension law, have a right to decide who deduct their money. Not Niagara CCT. With the same wording, in fact, unfortunately, I didn't bring a copy of it. When the matter went to court, the Attorney General brought some 3 letters. The letters contain the same wording, not giving consent to GES for them to go and deduct the money from their members. NAGRA, the same thing. CCC, the same thing. We are innovative teachers. We have close to 9,000 members across the country. We never gave any consent to anybody, but our members' money has been deducted. But my point is that, by law, the corporate body of a trade union is separate from its executives. The members are separate from the executives. By law, even the employer, Ghana Education Service, as an employer, needs permission from every teacher before deductions are made. As for trade unions, they are not mentioned at all. They are not mentioned at all. So it's a combination of illegalities, and I think that because they speak for teachers, nobody can call them out. And so they can do anything and get away with it. Where in Ghana, which law permits a trade union by just giving consent? Consent of what? You, trade union? How? If I join a union, does it cede my right to you to give my consent to somebody? How? Which law says so?
So what would you have preferred in this instance, that NAT or the other teacher unions come to the teachers for a certain vote?
Of course. Because they know what they are going to distribute, it's just a plastic case. Please, do a documentary. Go around the schools, SHS, GHS, and ask the teachers who are giving these laptops, how many of them are still operational? Some of them have given it to their girlfriends, others have given it to their husbands, others have given it to their children. Some have even gotten sport long time ago. Some have sold it. I'm telling you, there's a reality of the one teacher, one laptop. Look, if you go through all the literature from the Attorney General Department when it came to court, all the things that has, from the Ministry of Education, GES, it was like government was not in tune to produce any laptop. But just that the unions went to force it on government, and a government that's also interested in slogans, one this, one that. One this, one that, then say, oh, wow, this is a fine opportunity of jumping on the bandwagon and let's exploit this situation.
So for you, was it a good idea that was executed poorly, or you think that it was not important for every teacher to be given a laptop?
It is important for every teacher to be given a laptop way back in time, not even today. That idea is an idea of a bygone age which ought to have started a long time ago. But the issue is, what kind of laptop are we giving? If we are going to every minister's, office to see the kind of laptop is that the kind of laptop they will use? No. What's
your challenge with the laptop?
The company has no track record in producing a laptop anywhere. They don't. That's the reality. It's a company that changes name overnight. They were called SNV something. Within a short time, they changed to KE Technology just for purpose of this. Any case, apart from this contract that they were giving, have you seen any TM1 laptop being sold anywhere at Accra Mall or where can you see their laptops?
So your problem is not with, say, for example, the kind of operating system. It's just about the name and the producer.
The name, the brand name, what is in there,
it's not about the functionality.
The functionality, everything is wrong. Look, it's just like it's used only for purpose of teaching and cannot be used for any other thing.
But is that not why you're given? Is that not why you give a teacher a laptop to be used for the purpose of teaching?
I understand.
What else would you give a teacher a laptop for?
I understand that, but you see, if you are running your private school and you are using your pocket money to procure laptops for your teachers to enhance teaching and learning in your school, is that what you're going to give them?
So I want to get your issue clear.
My issue is...
So is it that you're paying too much for the kind of device you're receiving, or you want the device to do more than it is doing?
What we are saying is that it is of poor quality and the content in there is not ideal for teachers to use for the purpose of teaching and learning. Our point is that teachers deserve better and that we also deserve something bigger than this. In any case, this is a state, Ghana. We can go to Apple and negotiate with them for them to produce something better for us that will last, for a long time.
Did you say Apple?
Of course. Why not? If you go to, other parts of the world where, students are using, computers to, learn and all that, why not the teacher? And in any case, how much will it cost? Look at the number. When you're producing more, the price will come lower. That is the gravamen of the argument that you were making. But in order not to make the laptop, one teacher, one laptop deal shroud the GISOP request that we are making, what we are saying is that the fundamental error based on law that they made was to use our money to finance a project when the airline stated that it shall not be. And they knew it, and yet went ahead to do that. And so, in addressing this issue, what I can say is that it emanates from a mindset that says that, hey, we are teacher unions. We do what we like. You can go to hell for all we care. That is that kind of mindset, and that will not be allowed moving forward. And that the laws as made by Parliament ought to be respected based on the way pension funds are administered and used.
So, Mr. James, I see this request. You have about how many questions?
No, you talk about the sponsorship. Let me touch on the sponsorship.
I thought you had concluded.
No. I started with the laptop issue. Let me come on the sponsorship. As for the sponsorship, it's the worst of all. In fact, it's even worse than the laptop issue. It's like throwing the money away. GISOP is not Guinness Ghana. It's not MTN. It's not Vodafone. It's not multimedia that should have a foundation for doing sponsorship. The law is clear. Take the money. Invest. When the teachers are going on retirement or education workers are going on retirement, give it to them. Now you take the money and you are throwing it away. These are the same group of people who are shouting on radio and TV about government's intention to do haircut of pension funds. But when you use this for something, what are you doing? You are practically throwing the money away. If Ghana does, and we ask them about, listen, we ask them about a letter from GES or Ministry of Education or Ministry of Finance requesting for sponsorship so that they use our money to sponsor the basic teacher. You know the answer that came? They said they never received anything. So it's like, we on our own, we have so much money. We have billions of Ghanaian citizens in our votes, and we will sit and decide what to use our money for. Forget about the law, because the teachers will not come and confront us. Nobody wants to say anything. That mindset is toxic. That mindset is dangerous. And if we don't take care, the second-tier pension scheme, as we have it now, will be worse than SNIT.
Right. So there are more responses to your concerns, and I'd like to highlight those because we don't have GSOPs here with us. So it's just fair to have their responses heard in relation to the conversation that we're having. So GSOP says, or the lawyers of GSOPs, our client is unable to provide information for the underlisted information request due to reasons assigned in capitals against each request. The first is the copy of a bank statement from the account that receives contributions every month from employees of Ghana Education Service from 2016 to the 31st of December 2022, and you've highlighted that here. GSOP's lawyer says GSOPs does not receive contributions from contributors. It receives contributions on behalf of contributors.
What is the relationship between the request and this answer? What's the relationship? There's no relationship here.
They said they can't give you that because they don't receive
directly
from you.
You see, you are playing. You are just playing.
I am just reiterating their
response. Of course, I'm saying that they are just playing games with the request made. We are asking a copy of bank statements from the account that received contribution. So after correcting that mistake, provide it, because the emphasis on the bank statement, the emphasis is not about contributors or whatever that you are trying to correct. That's what we are requesting for. So when you state this and leave it there, what are you saying? We made a request that, listen, every month money comes from controller into that account. Let's see. Month A, X amount. Month B, Y amount. In that order. And all money transfer from there that we'll know and ask you where the money went so that for you to tell us. But when you state this, it's neither here nor there. You are not answering the question. You are just playing to the gallery. And it's part of their tactics in answering some of the questions that they do not want to answer. Of course, they have stated here they are unable to answer on their listed questions. But we are going to ask them more questions based on what they have stated here, because this is what we requested for.
Okay, so I'm just selecting the request and the responses. So in the same letter, dated 26th October 2021, this is your request. The Director General of GES called for the opening of an escrow account that will yield interest. Kindly provide the bank statement of the escrow account and documents that show the performance of the escrow account since it was opened. The response is the said escrow account was not opened, and therefore there is no bank statement to share.
Well, interestingly, this request was based on a letter we saw on social media. Regarding a letter that was written by Professor Poko Amankwa, former GS director, to the head of the chairman of GSOPs about an account that they have instructed controller to place in the 509 cities that they deducted from teachers from source. And as part of the letter, it was stated that an escrow account will be created so that it will be invested and more money will the interest that will accrue on it will be used to produce more laptops. And that's why we asked this question. Now, having acknowledged that the escrow account was not opened, it tells us that the letter that was written is not a fake letter. In our suspicion, it's a correct letter or it's a genuine letter. The question is, we asked them to give us the bank statement of the account stated in that letter, and they look at the question. The first question was for them to give us the bank statement of that account in the letter that directed controller to, or the Director General was telling the board of GSOP to put in that the controller to put in that money from teachers. When we asked for the bank statement, they acted as if they didn't see that question, then went off the second question. So if they say that they didn't create the escrow account, fine. But our question we're asking them is that the money landed somewhere. That account that the money landed in, is a prudential bank account that is known by us? Why are they operating different schemes, different accounts with teachers, education workers, and money without following the due process, the law, and everything? And how does money leave the prudential bank account into the account? So it's a whole, bouquet of questions that, arise from some of the answers that they are giving. But we'll move on from here.
Right. And to your big one, a copy of document that shows that the government of Ghana has paid the 70% of the amount GSOPs used to pre-finance the manufacturing of 280,000 laptops and the 18% interest on that amount. Here's the response. There is no such document because GSOPs has not had any arrangement with government to pre-finance 70% of the cost of the supply of 280,000 laptops. In other words, GSOPs is saying that your allegation is neither here nor there. Absolutely nothing of the sort happened.
Well, those who follow the one teacher, one laptop issue from the onset up to today, you know that what they are saying here is contradictory to what we were all told. In fact, several letters, some from GES, some from Ministry of Education, some from NAT, some from NAGRAT, all saying that, and even a press conference that they held on 7th of December 2021, saying that they reached an agreement with government to provide 70% of the cost of their laptops. So if you now state that...
Who are the they here? They have reached an agreement.
The GSOP Board of Trustees reached an agreement with government of Ghana for government of Ghana to pay 70% of the cost of the laptops, while the teachers paid the 30%. That's what they told us. So for you to come and state that government doesn't have any agreement with you, it's like,
No, what GSOPs is saying here is that it did not. So let's go back again. Your question was about 70% of the amount.
Yes. Our question was about...
GSOPs used to pre-finance. Now you're saying 30%.
No, listen.
The request says a copy of documents that shows that the government of Ghana has paid the 70% of the amount GSOP used. So the 70% of the 30%. Is that what you're saying?
No.
How much were you told GSOPs was going to use to pre-finance this one teacher, one laptop project?
We were told about percentage. We were never told about figures.
Yes, so what percentage were you told? 70%
from government, 30% from teachers for a professional development allowance.
Okay, hold on.
Before we asked this question, it was based on the fact that they wrote a letter saying that government has not paid an accumulated deductions and it ought to pay. It was about 400 million. The government ought to pay into the custodian account. They were telling government to pay. So if you are telling government to pay, it was based on what they wrote that we asked this question that, has the government then paid the money you used to pre-finance the laptops? Because that's what they told us. They told us.
And it was contained in a statement?
Yes, press statements.
That yes. Government owed GSOPs money or owed GSOPs money that had been used to pre-finance the project?
It was in a press statement that they have used our money to pre-finance the laptop and the government will pay them and that it's 18% interest on the money that they gave to government, the 17%. Now, the issue now is that having given such an answer, that there's no such document because GSOP has not reached any agreement with government to provide any laptop, or the cost of the supply of 280,000 laptops, then it leaves us to ask the question, so if this is the case, then what happened to what you told us before? Which one is true? Is this one the true state of the affairs now, or what you told us was a lie? Or what you're telling us is a lie, and what you said earlier on is true. So for us, where we're coming from is simply that we just want answers to this question to ascertain the proper management of our pension funds based on law. That's what we are asking for. And so if you are stating that government has not reached any agreement with GSOP to produce or pay 70% of the laptop, the question is, why are we giving our pension funds for the production of these laptops, and how will government pay? Does it mean that the money that was used to manufacture the laptop is gone and it will never come back? It will amount to waste of our pension funds. Is that what they are communicating to us? So these are some of the questions, but we'll ask them more questions for them to answer based on what they stated earlier on, and then we'll leave them for them to see what answer they have.
You sued over the one teacher, one laptop.
Yes.
What happened to that?
What happened here was that, in law, if you are tackling a case, there are two ways. You either use technicalities to defeat the opponent, or you defeat the person or the opponent based on the substance of the matter. So, for example, you go and hire a lawyer who has not renewed his license for the year. Of course, if the other side know that this was has happened, it's just a simple matter of raising a preliminary objection in court stating that that lawyer is not in good stand to raise that issue. And from there, the judge will just strike the case out for you to file again. So in our case, we use the name of Innovative Teachers and our counterparts from other union called All Teachers Alliance in filing the case. And that was a mistake from the word go. So based on that error, our case was thrown out. So we decided not to pursue that from that. But having sat down for all this while and seen some of these things, we decided, listen, let's rather go on asking for questions based on how our funds are being used. So as for the court case, was dismissed not based on substance, but was based on error made. Yes.
All right, so you have some amount to pay for this information to be given you, pursuant to our letter dated 16th day of January 2023, in which we requested for an extension of time on our client's behalf. We hereby confirm that the underlisted information is available for your client's access upon their payment of a fee of 5,865 Ghana cedis, representing a total of 3,910 of printed pages. So this is coming from lawyers of GSOPs, and it appears that the way forward for you is to provide or pay this 5,865 cedis so you can have your some of the answers that you require. There are some though that they have shown links for which you can get responses.
No, some they say they will not provide.
Where do we move?
Okay, so where we move from here is that to ask them to give us the breakdown of how they arrive at this figure, and give us the breakdown of how they arrive at 390.
Why won't you just go to the RTI Commission?
Okay, that's an option we have. Like I said before, we have 34 more questions for them to answer. So we want them to finish off with that. We want to finish off with that, and then when we are done, we will then proceed on what to do. But what we are saying is that they must give us a breakdown of how they arrive at this figure that we must pay to them, and how they arrive at 3,910 pages that they're talking about here. Because if you're asking for this document, there are some of them that you don't want even to answer. How did you arrive at this figure? And should it be printed or the soft copy that we need? So we will just, ask them questions based on that, and then we expect them to.
Have you ever been granted an audience, or have you ever sought to engage the Board of Trustees in a meeting, have a conversation with the leadership? Is that something that you have considered, or something that has ever crossed your mind?
Well, they see us as opposition. They see us as people who are against what they are doing. So obviously they will not like this idea of even sitting here talking about this to enlighten the teaching public and that of general. Look, this thing that we're doing here is not really about only teachers. So the cancer of mismanaging of pension funds didn't start today. The late Communal Dumo did a lot of work on SNIT before he was awarded the best journalist of the year, the time that he was awarded. And so this pension issue is a big issue. So union leaders haven't gone to President Kufuor and, suggesting to him that they should create first tier, second tier, third tier, which resulted in this law. For me and for my colleagues, our thinking is that they just wanted a portion of it so that they can make money and raise themselves with it. Because let me tell you this.
Yeah, but that's a serious allegation.
Oh, look, they take fees. This one teacher, one laptop thing that we're talking about here. Imagine SNIT was the only pension company. Well, the likes of Akakpo, Ali, and that of Musa go to SNIT to tell them that you should pre-finance laptop. No, they will not even cross their mind. But because hey, we are sitting, around the money, so let's use for whatever thing they want to use for. Now let me give you this: they sit on the board and take fees. All of them, union leaders, 12 labor union leaders in Ghana, they sit on the board and they take fees. But they never communicate to the workers that this is what we are taking from there. We ask them, they say they will not tell us. Now, by law, NPRA is supposed to set a limit for the Board of Trustees. And for us, we consider this law, some portions of it, to be cardinal sins that emanated from the construct of the Constitution, where discretions are given and no reasonable anchors are given to restrain So it is subject to abuse. Let's look at the appointment of ministers. President has the power to appoint. So look at what we have. Abuse from Jerry Rawlings' era to Kufuor to Mills to Mahama, up to today. It's being abused. Let's look at the appointment of persons into the Supreme Court. No number given. It is just discretion. So a president can come and say, I want 100 people to be at the Supreme Court. Can you challenge that? No, it's legal. So, coming from this history, we still make laws that give discretion without following or giving it proper anchors and restraints. So we are telling NPRA Board of Trustees to determine the fees for those who are sitting as Board of Trustees. So you know what's going to happen? It's simple. An issue where there could be conflicts of interest, collision, where people will say, okay, listen, let me give you this and pass something for kickback for me to take at the end of the day. These are the issues that we are raising here. So if we ask you to tell us how much you are taking as fees, sitting on the board as a Board of Trustee members, and you are refusing to tell us, and we ask you how much are you giving to Glyco as administrator of our pension money, and say you are not going to tell us, how do we then have trust in what you're doing? So
for you, there's no transparency, and you're worried about that. Mr. Dennis, so the next move for you is to ask your 34 next questions, or possibly go to the RTI
in
to
fact,
have this.
The GSOP is not the only institution that we have asked them questions on this issue.
Which other institution?
Bank of Ghana. We are asking Bank of Ghana to give us the bank statement of the TPFA account.
So have you requested that already, or you're yet to?
We did that. Today is Monday, right? Yeah.
Today is Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday. Yeah. The Monday after yesterday, we asked them that question. We're going to NPRA. NPRA and Bank of Ghana were the first people to handle our money. And so for you to trace the term from the beginning, you have to go and ask them questions first before you come to GSOP.
How many teachers are part of your group?
Oh, those of us asking a question, we are 11 in number. At first we were 8, and we are now 11. But we as innovative teachers, we are 9,000 members across the country. The issue here is this, that we expect them to give us, the answers or the information candidly, and not be playing games with us.
Right.
Our point is that Ministry of Education, we've sent them questions on this same laptop issue based on the use of our funds. They are refusing to answer. GES wrote letters to controller authorizing deductions. We want those documents. They are refusing to answer.
I'm wondering why you're struggling when the RTI Commission is there now. Because, if this was 4 or 5 years ago, we would say, but you have the RTI Commission. So
you see,
if you put in a request and there is a delay by an institution, there's so many examples. Some of my colleagues, even for us here at JoyNews, we just write to the RTI Commission and we get our responses.
We will go there, but our difficulty is that Manas Azuri Awini requested information on the spraying. You remember they spraying stuff?
During the COVID.
Yes, 2020. The question was filed in 2020. The answer came in February 2023. Look at the number of years it took before a simple request was made, and the fine that was imposed on the institution that refused to give that information. This is where some of us are coming from.
But is that not better than you being thrown about or you not receiving any responses
I'm saying
at
that
all?
we have two options.
Okay.
Either we go to ITR Commission, or we go straight to court.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for your time here this morning. Stephen Daisu is founder of the Innovative Teachers, and he's here to still talk about his journey and that of his group in getting answers on their pension funds, Tier 2 pension funds with the GSOPs. And I just also told you some responses from the lawyers of GSOPs to some of the questions that they asked. And basically what they're saying is that for some of those ones, they would have to pay some amount of money to receive those. You're watching the AM show with me, Bernice Lansah. It's still raining in some parts of Accra. I hope you're safe wherever you are in the country. If it's raining as well, let us know. And do stay safe. But coming up next, we'll be discussing another issue in the education sector, this time round the school feeding policy and how caterers in the Ashanti region have threatened to embark on a strike. In fact, they have embarked on a strike. They say they are not going to cook for the children in public basic schools who are resuming today because they are owed some monies. They went to the regional secretariat. They didn't meet anybody there. We are told that a meeting with the Ashanti regional minister didn't end too well. The minister was upset by some chants the women were making. So we'll be giving you all the details. Basically, they're saying pay as our arrears and also increase the amount per child from 95 pesos to 3 cedis. Really, what can you do with 95 pesos in today's Ghana? We'll be back to explore that conversation. Do stay. About some 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Thank you for staying on the AM show. Time now to discuss school feeding issues in the Ashanti region, particularly because caterers there are on strike. They say until government pays what it owes them, they aren't going to feed the children in public basic schools anymore. They also want an increase in the feeding grant per child from 97 pesos to 3 cedis. This morning I've been joined by a member of Parliament's Education Committee, a very vocal one, as such, Clement Park. Good morning to you, Mr. Park, and thank you for joining the program this morning. Obviously, you are not surprised by this development, I'm sure, because it's been on the burner for a long time. We've been talking about the amount granted a child to be a part of the school feeding program, obviously because of the rise in the cost of goods and services over time. But what has your committee found out so far with regards to plans to increase this grant? And what more can you tell us about the concerns of these caterers in the Ashanti region?
Well, let me say good morning to you and good morning to viewers. Yes, you are right. I have spoken about the challenges facing the school feeding program on a rather regular basis, unfortunately. And it seems as though government has only been paying lip service to what I consider to be a very important intervention. In fact, the purpose of the school feeding program was to, one, ensure that people from less endowed backgrounds at least were guaranteed a meal a day at school to prevent them from going hungry. And indeed, in addition to that, it was also supposed to, or is supposed to serve as a catalyst towards encouraging higher enrollments and retention as far as our public basic schools are concerned. Now, with these very noble objectives, one would have thought that a government that prides itself and claims to have a stellar record unsurpassed in the area of education would have mobilized the needed and requisite resources to ensure that such a program, as important as it is, run smoothly. The issues are many, but let me take first the budgetary allocation for 2023 for the school feeding program. If you were to look at the 2023 budget appendix 6C,
Hello, Doc. Hello, Dr. Park. Well, too bad. It appears there's been a disconnection to Dr. Park's line. We'll try and rectify that. He was basically sharing his thoughts on the development in the Ashanti region with us with regards to teachers, sorry, I beg your pardon, caterers in the region who are demanding an increase on the grant and are on strike over unpaid arrears. Yesterday, if you were following the story, as at last night on our news, there were reports about an incident between the Ashanti Regional Minister and some of the caterers who he said were chanting, and that made him unhappy. And so there was no proper meeting between the two, that's the minister and the group. And well, we heard from one of the leaders who said she didn't see a problem. They were just airing their displeasure about what had happened. And so it was quite unfortunate that the minister, based on the chants, decided not to continue with that engagement with the women. We will try and touch base with our men in the Ashanti region to find out what the situation is this morning, even as pupils of public basic schools reopen. Have the caterers softened their stance? Will they go and feed these kids after what happened yesterday? We are actually told that some of them have been paid for the second term of the last academic year, and so they should exercise patience because some of these things take time. And in one of the responses that we heard actually was that the caterers know they are supposed to pre-finance the feeding of the children and they will be paid subsequently. And so we will be trying to get all those answers and see what the results will be, especially for these children, many of whom need this very important intervention. We're struggling with our lines this morning. Too bad. Sorry about that. We will try to rectify that. We'll take a quick breather now. Hopefully when we come back, the lines will be activated. Some 4 minutes after 9, I'm grateful that you stayed and held on. We thankfully have been able to get another person to respond to or share his concerns about the school feeding issue in the Ashanti region. Unfortunately, we lost Dr. Clement Park via phone. We've been joined via Zoom by Kofi Asare. He is Executive Director of Ghana Education Watch, Africa, I beg your pardon, Education Watch. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I am sure, just like Mr. Apak, you're also not surprised about happenings in this sector with regards to school feeding. But this has been persistent. We've been talking about this over time. The caterers say they want an increment per child from 97 pesos to 3 cedis. And they're asking government to pay them all the arrears owed, or else the children who resume school today will have no food to eat. You've been following this for quite some time. It's all money issues, right? And you've had concerns about the seeming focus on the free senior high school policy at the expense of other sectors of the education. How do we solve this problem once and for all?
Well, good morning. Yeah, it's morning. I appreciate the concerns being raised by the caterers. They are genuine and they are expected and long overdue. We've been seeing these wranglings taking place in the past 2 years. The reality is that the Ghana cedi, has depreciated by over 80 to 100% in the past 4 years. In the past year alone, it was about 50%. We know the inflation rate, food inflation is the highest. And it's been just around 50%. If you have to do an analysis of the inflation rate between 2018 and now on food, I'm sure it's going to be way over 100%, way over. But we have a situation where school feeding caterers have been feeding students since 2018 with 97 pesos per day per child since 2018. So it tells you, the value of food, the quality of food that can be produced with that amount of money. I quickly compare to the free senior high school because that's the only other school feeding program we have, within the pre-tertiary space. I recall that around 2018, we were paying about 4 cedis for free senior high school feeding a day. As we speak, we are spending more than 6 cedis on free senior high school feeding a day. So we've seen at least 50% or more increment in how much we are spending in feeding, senior high school students between 2018 and now. I think it's more than 50%. So why is it a challenge to increase the amount of money basic school students have been, fed with? I don't get it. And what even makes the situation worse is that, what makes the situation uncertain is that in this year's budget, the Minister of Finance announced a 10% increment in the school feeding budget allocation from 880 to 960 million. Now, that 10% suggested that an average of 10% increment was going to happen for the school feeding program, meaning that from 97 pesos, we were going to get about 110, one CD 10 pesos, which was, so far as I'm concerned, it was insignificant. It wouldn't do anything. Even that hasn't happened. Even that, we are in month 4 and we are still doing 97 pesos. If you look at the medium-term projection in the Ministry of Finance's budget presented last year, realize that the same amount of 969 million is projected for allocation in 2024. But when you get to 2025, it actually declines to about 770. It means that per the projections of the Ministry of Finance, allocation to the Ghana School Feeding Program may reduce by 25% in 2025. It's within the medium-term framework of this IMF program. And we have raised concerns last week when we launched our impact of IMF program on education and policy brief at the University of Ghana, that school feeding will suffer if the medium-term projections of the Ministry of Finance per the 2023 budget as captured in the medium-term expenditure framework is not reviewed. Because the meaning is that by 2025, if you are going to give school feeding program 25% less than what is currently being allocated to them, which is already inadequate, the only meaning is that they are going to reduce the number of beneficiaries by 25%. That is a projection of the Minister of Finance in the medium term. And so we have actually called for a review of the medium-term expenditure framework of the Ministry of Finance to let the allocation to the school feeding program and other basic education lines reflect the realities. So such actions only speak to what has been, approved per appropriation in a budget. And I think that we need to revise the figure. Other than that, the quality of food we expect the children to enjoy will continue to diminish. It makes it difficult for CSOs like us to monitor the quality of the school feeding program, because the last time we were monitoring school feeding, I was in Bongo MA, junior primary, and I look at the food being served, and you are quiet because it's 97 pesos. So what else can you say? So I think that we need to engage more with government for government to increase the school feeding allocation within the medium-term budget. As it is now, the caterers are shouting, yes, it is true, but the reality is that the budget hasn't made any allocation
for
to solve their problem or give them 3 cedis a day.
Kofi, do you think when it comes to the interventions in the education sector, we are biting more than we can chew?
Well, I think that the resource envelope, within the resource envelope, there is severe constriction. I don't know if we should say we are biting more than we can chew, but I only say we are biting more than we can chew when government is allocating between 15 and 20% of the government's total expenditure to education. At present, we are doing 12% of total public expenditure to education. That's one of the lowest in Africa, far lower than the international benchmark of 15% minimum and 20% maximum. We are doing only 3% of GDP to education. It's lower than the 4% to 6% recommended by UNESCO, for which our president is a champion to ensure that all other African countries comply. And so until we allocate according to the benchmarks that we have acceded to, it will be difficult to, on the basis of this, say that we are biting more than we can chew. Having said that, even without the optimum budgetary allocation we expect, yes, there are evidences of severe inequities in the allocation of education funds, which gives the impression that we, even though we are not biting more than we can chew, we are not spending efficiently and we are not adequately allocating resources. We are prioritizing secondary education and we are actually denying basic education of its funding. That is the fact. The fact is that we are increasing how much we are spending in feeding senior high schools. Over the past 4 years, we've increased that significantly, okay? But we haven't touched how much we are spending in feeding basic schools. Meanwhile, both caterers are buying food stuff from the same market. And so there's no way to explain this than simply present it as such, that we are not spending equitably and that we are prioritizing secondary education to the detriment of basic education. What government must do is that government must increase the budgetary allocation to basic education beyond 15% from the 12% we find ourselves in. And we see an opportunity in the supplementary budget that the Ministry of Finance will present after the IMF board's approval, after the envisioned IMF board's approval of Ghana's program. If we don't take an opportunity and make amends by increasing allocation to basic education, which was actually cut by 40% in this year's budget, and increase allocation to the school feeding program to reflect the economic realities on the ground, then it will be difficult for us to manage critical interventions in the basic education space, that are meant to encourage and sustain enrollment retention, promote teaching and learning, and also enhance transition of students from junior high schools and from primary schools to junior high schools. Interesting.
So it appears that for now, the caterers will have to stick with the 97 pesos per child, considering what the budget has made room for.
You see, sometimes when CSOs raise issues about budgeting, a lot of the stakeholders downplay budgeting, including Parliament. There are a lot of issues emerging today that are being raised that could have been addressed if Parliament rejected the budget that the Minister of Finance presented to the House. Because we encourage Parliament that, look, the allocations to the education sector were totally inequitable and that they needed to reject that part of the appropriation. But the Parliament passed appropriation bill. Let me give you an example. Last 2 weeks, I had the minority made a press conference calling for the release of capitation grants to basic schools. Yes, it is true. Capitation grants are in arrears for almost 2 years. You understand? The tranches amount to almost 2 years of release. But the reality is that our Parliament passed the appropriation bill, which was more or less passing into law the budget estimates the Minister of Finance presented. In that budget estimate, okay, we all knew that the capitation grant, which we are now calling for, was only 15% allocated for. Let me put it this way. Only 15% of what was required as capitation grants for this year was actually budgeted. So how do you approve such a partially allocated or inadequate allocated capitation grant within the appropriation bill, and then hold a press conference after 3 months and call government to release the capitation grant? Release what? Government only made allocation for only about 11 or so million out of about 80 million needed to pay the capitation grant.
And so if the caterers had any reason to fight, they should have done that prior to the reading of the budget.
Exactly. The same thing applies to the school feeding caterers, because our Parliament sat down, saw that there was only a 10% increment in the allocation to the Ghana school feeding program. It's in the budget. They saw that the budget has already only increased from 880 to 996. And so it basically meant that in spite of all the inflation in the food sector, the maximum increment, if any, to Ghana school feeding caterers was going to be 10%. They saw it and then they approved it. So you see, when you complain now, more or less, it's like just crying was supposed to. Nothing can be done. That's the reality. That's why I'm saying that in the supplementary budget of this year, which we are expecting, sometime in June or so, we want to see our members of parliament scrutinizing the estimates before approving the budget. Other than that, we'll come back and cry wolf when we had an opportunity to ensure that the right thing is done. The allocations for social intervention programs in the basic education sector must reflect, one, the economic realities, and two, the demands, the exigencies of providing quality basic education service, including school feeding program to children who require that level of nutrition to participate actively in learning in school.
I'm grateful for your time this morning. Kofi Asare is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, sharing his thoughts with us on the latest with regards to the school feeding situation in the Ashanti region. Our men will be touching base with us later in subsequent bulletins to give us an idea of what is happening as the basic school pupils for public schools reopen today. Well, it's now time to take a sip of water. Benjamin Akakpo will join you shortly, and he'll be talking to Waylead Properties on their latest products. Do stay.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to talk about some properties, Waylead Properties to be specific. But right before we get into that conversation, Water is Life Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. And guess what? They have the perfect sizes for all people, all events, 330 ml. 500 ml bottles, 750 ml bottles, and 1.5 liters if you're a heavy drinker like me. And in addition to all of that, if you're thinking of water for your homes, your offices, they've got the perfect bit for you. 19-liter jar bottles, just adequate enough for all of those occasions. So all you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Grab your bottle. And remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. And that indeed is heartwarming. It's another quality product from Casa Preco Company Limited. If you want to purchase in bulk, here's the number to call, 0262 351 251. Do remember, this advert is FDA approved. Now let's go on with our conversation, and we're hosting Waylead Properties. They've been here on the show time and again, and they have some new bits that they're going to be sharing their thoughts with us about. Are you excited, as I am? Well, let's get into the studio now. Emmanuel Nyako is Marketing Manager with Waylead Properties. Ima, thank you for coming. We also have Sefin Siao, Properties Sales Consultant, also with Waylead Properties. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
I'll start with you, Emmanuel. Tell us a bit about Waylead Properties, how far you've come. When did all of this, start this journey? Tell us a bit about your outfit.
All right, so Waylead has been in Ghana, in the construction industry in Ghana since 2012.
2012?
Yes.
So that's just about 10 getting to 11 years.
11 years, yeah. This November will be our 11th year. We've done quite a number of properties. Vista Demarin, a gated community at East Airport, 100% sold out. Our homeowners are enjoying the facilities in there. We have the Le Jardin Symphonic, 56 unit townhouses.
You have to sound that like the French, right?
Pardon?
Le Jardin. You have to sound that like the French.
All right.
Especially when you're in a show with me.
All right. Le Jardin. So 56 townhouses.
Right.
About 98% sold out. We have just about 3 or 4 units available for sale now.
Okay.
And then we have our 2 new babies, the Alphabet City, a luxurious 2 and 3 bedroom apartment in the heart of Sakomono, and our new baby that we are expecting, the Willow Lane, which also about 100 unit townhouses, also at Sakomono. So we are here this morning to let Ghanaians and the whole world know of the good things that is happening at Waylead, and for them to come and get one of our beautiful homes.
So I was trying to pull your legs there about Le Jardin Symphonique. But anyway, interesting bits. Anything else you'd like to add, Stephen, about Waylead, especially as you're one of those properties consultants?
Yeah, sure. So I will add from this angle. With the apartments, we have 2 bedrooms and then 3 bedrooms. So for us to let people know that we are a group that provides variety of design to our potential clients. For the 2 bedrooms, we have 3 main types. We have the 95 meter square, the 101 meter square, and then 110 meter square. For the 95 and then 101, they are 2 bedrooms with 3 washrooms. All the 2 bedrooms are en suite, and you have a visitor's washroom as well. You have a balcony, you have a living area and the dining area together, plus your kitchen. Then with the 110 meter square, we have designed that in such a way that it has an open kitchen concept, 2 bedrooms with 2 washrooms. There is also the 3 bedrooms, which are 3 types. So you have a 3 bedroom with 2 washrooms, you have 3 bedrooms with 4 washrooms. It means all the 3 bedrooms are en suite, plus a visitor's washroom. Yeah. And then we've also added, we've sold quite a number of them, and we've realized from our clients that most of them want a maid squatter. So that is something that we have added to the 3 bedroom. Aside the bedrooms that are en suite, you also have a maid squatter that has been added. This is unique. You won't find this in any of the apartments in the country, because we've realized from our clients that this is what they want.
So most of them have or require helps at home.
Exactly.
And the helps must be housed somewhere.
Exactly.
And usually maybe the number of bedrooms are already taken. A man, maybe a woman, or let's say a couple and their children.
That's it.
So usually they would struggle to get extra space. And that is a need you are meeting.
Exactly. We have added a space. We have added a space for the maid squatter in the apartment. Yes, and that is unique. You don't find this, elsewhere in this country.
So you've already started getting into the conversation proper, but I'd like to find out, let's break it down. So your 2 new babies, if you like.
Yes, please.
Alphabet City.
Yes, please.
Let's talk a bit about that. What further detail can you give? What is Alphabet City in its full context? What is it?
All right, so Alphabet City.
For those who may be interested.
So Alphabet City is a gated community. So though it's an apartment unit, it's gated. It comes
gated. Okay.
Gated, so security is assured. So you are when you're living in Alphabet City, you are living in a gated community. Besides that, there are other facilities in the community that you enjoy. The swimming pool is under construction, probably in the next month it will be done. Okay. We have tennis courts, a gym is coming up. So it's a community that you find everything that will aid you in living peacefully. Not just that, we built Alphabet City with 2 things in mind: to make our homeowners enjoy their stay in the community, and also for the apartment to serve as the best investment opportunity for Ghanaians. So I will tell you that instead of you to do bond stocks and have issues, why don't you invest in my apartment? That will give you a very good yield. That's the rental income, and at the end of the day, the property also will appreciate.
Now that's an interesting, part that you've just brought into the conversation. And you're mentioning bondholders and all of that. We know the situation with bondholders, but I've known people as well who do the, is it Airbnb or something, who purchase properties, and they are not living there. They are just renting them out to people who come from abroad and all of that. And some are making a killing. That's what you're suggesting. So that's a very valid investment.
Exactly. Whether you are going in for the short rental or the long term. Because as of now, we have a lot of people on the list looking for places to rent in Alphabet City. Wow. So all our clients who bought for investment purposes, we are fully booked. And then we have a lot of people who are still looking for places to rent. Right. And then more of the units are ready now. So why don't you place a call to us, get one of the units, and our estate management department will help you with the rental. So you don't go through those stress alone.
Okay.
In as much as we are managing the estate 24/7, taking care of all issues that comes in the estate, assisting our homeowners for them to live as kings and queens in our palace, we are also helping them, those who want to go into the investment, to rent up their spaces.
That's an interesting bit. So purchase and will even help you in terms of renting out your own facility.
Sure.
What has that been like though? I just want to get into that. What has that been like? What has that experience been like for your customers?
For our customers, I think it's the best thing that has ever happened to them in the real estate industry. So we are seeing that just by the headache of getting somebody in the apartment is on us.
Wow.
So we have a whole department.
So for all of those who have bought for that purpose, have you been able to get them clients?
Sure.
All of them?
All of them, as we speak now. And we have other clients. we have other clients on our list looking for places to rent in the community.
And they are not even getting it?
They are not getting it.
Wow.
So instead of you to go into all those things, that will give you problem later. Why don't you invest in Alphabet City and then get good returns?
I mean, for me, it makes sense. If I'm going to purchase it and you're even going to help me get a customer, look, if I had the money, you would have my money right now. But let me come to you, Stephen. So we've been showing some of those images on TV. You've seen them. Where are these ones located?
Okay, so these our properties, we at Sakumono Community 14 in Tema. It's really the route you use to get to the main heart of the city. You can use the motorway and then the beach road. So from the location of your property to town, in less than 30 minutes, you'll be in the heart of Accra. In less than 30 minutes, you'll be in airport. So well-lit properties, the location of our properties is the best for...
So they are very central?
Very central, that's it, yeah.
Let's talk about what else makes your projects unique. But I'd like to start from, you were talking about you have security, it's a gated community and all of that. You also mentioned the swimming pool. In recent times, I mean, there have also been security concerns about swimming pools. You know what I'm talking about. Celebrities whose children, this and that. What plans do you have in that regard? Before you tell me more about what makes your property unique.
So as I said, we don't just build the facilities and leave them. All our projects speaks for itself, right from Vista de Marine, Le Jardin to Alphabet City.
Right.
We build and manage. So all our swimming pool have the lifeguard.
So safety is guaranteed.
Very, very, very
lifeguards 24/7.
24/7.
I see.
And that is what they do. That's why we pay them to be there. Our gyms in all our previous have their gym instructors there. So
you don't come and do something and injure yourself.
Yes. So we take all those things into consideration.
Great stuff. Back to you, Stephen.
Okay, so one of the reasons that make Alphabet City or well-lit properties unique is the construction process. Okay, unlike what you see outside, the traditional method, you have the sandcrete block of, say, 6 inches. What we are doing at well-lit is that our block size is 8 inches. And it's not the sandcrete, we are using quarry dust. And it's not hollow, it is solid throughout, right from foundation to the roof beams. Solid blocks, 8 inches. After plastering, you have about 10 inches. And that is very huge. That makes the building very sound. We've had clients who have repeatedly bought because of that, because they know they are investing in a good property. They are buying the right thing for their generation. So that makes us stand out. Our payment terms, we require that you make initial deposit.
I was just about to get to that, but since you've taken the wind out of my sail.
We require that you make a deposit of 20%.
20%?
20%, and then you spread the balance for 2 years. If you are a group, let's say we have 50 people coming on board, say we want to buy 50 units, then we can spread that for 5 years. There are also mortgage options where you can have up to 20 years. Okay, you can have up to 20 years. You make the initial deposit, and then that is spread for you. That makes us stand out.
Anything else on the flexibility of your payment terms? So 20% in hand and then 2 years to pay. Are there any, I'm just, especially in these economic times where people have defaulted on loans, so many things have happened. Some people have taken up, such initiatives and realized, oh, wow, I don't. When that happens, what do you do? How do you accommodate?
We sit down with you. We understand the system. We understand people. We understand our clients. Now, for us, the moment you buy a house from us, we don't treat you as a client anymore. We treat you as a family member. So we sit down with you, and then we look at the best way that we can all come out of your difficulties. If it means extending it for you, or anyway, we walk through with you. So all our clients, at the end of the day, becomes more or less like a family to us. Yeah. And then to also add to the Alphabet City, the apartment, all the apartment unit comes with elevator, a standby generator. So when you are in there and the light goes out, the generator, and then we have a standby reservoir.
Okay.
So water, electricity, and access is really assured. And it's very friendly to even, our apartments are all friendly for our brothers and sisters who are disabled.
So people with disabilities.
Yeah, we took that also into consideration. Then the Willow Lane, it's a new thing that we are bringing up. 3-level townhouse with an option for you to have an elevator. If you're buying from now, I think to June, we are giving you free elevator in your house. For now, you might think you might not need it, but in the next 10, 50 years, 20 years that you are going on retirement, you are becoming a little old, it becomes an advantage for you.
Well, that's interesting. Anyway, comparatively, I'm sure some people would be curious. There are so many real estate, agencies across the country. People would be wondering, comparatively, you're delivering maybe similar things to what other people are, though there are differences in terms of your block quality, in terms of your finishing, and in terms of some of those unique things you're offering, like the maid's quarters. But comparatively, in terms of cost, how do you fare on the market? How do you, if I came to you that, look, I want one of your properties, but I want to know how moderate you are, still delivering quality, what would you tell me? Okay, so if you look at the entire real estate market in Ghana and those delivering something closer to what we are doing, we are about 30% less expensive. 30% less expensive. Wow.
That's a research that we've done, and our patrons can also come to our site, check what we are doing, and then compare it with any real estate on the market. So
they're getting value for money, and of course, they're getting very flexible payment terms.
Sure.
Interesting stuff. To wrap up the conversation, gentlemen, so what is the future of Waylead Properties? Where next from here?
All right, so the Alphabet City and then the project at Sakomono, we are looking at delivering about 800 units, housing units. So 800 housing units on a 50-acre land, where we are going to have, beside the swimming pool for Alphabet City, we are going to have an Olympic-sized swimming pool in the community.
Olympic size?
Yeah, for the entire community. The plans are far advanced to have a security zone comprised of a fire service station, a police station in the community. We have commercial areas that the patrons have started taking up the places for the commercial areas, where we have a mini clinic, a pharmacy, and a whole lot of others.
Anything else to add?
Then our numbers are on the screen. We have something good coming up this Easter holidays. We are saying that visit our site, come with the family, have a tour of everything that we have in there, and then when you are going home, we give you a gift.
I see. Okay, so during this period, so from when exactly to when?
We started yesterday.
Okay.
So just visit our site, come with the family, come with the children when they are on vacation. Come and see what we are providing to the market. Our offices are open throughout the Easter festivity. So Good Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we are working. Come, our sales people will take you around a tour of the entire estate. Alphabet City, Willow Lane, Le Jardin, for you to see what we've done, what we are doing, and what we intend to do. Then when you are going home too, we give you a gift.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. Any final words,
Yes, we are offering up to 11% discount.
Aside, up to 11%?
Yes, aside, comparatively, our prices being 30% low, we are still offering up to 11% discount. So anyone who comes in and make a purchase within this season, Easter season, you have up to 11% discount. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, thank you very much. Is there any... So, I noticed you were...
Okay, so my final words is that young guys can come together. Probably you, Eko, and the team can come together, put your resources together, acquire one apartment. In the next 5 years, you'll be able to cover your costs, and then it becomes an investment for you. So we deal with that. Corporate organizations, if they are looking for housing units for their staff, then they should look nowhere than Alphabet City.
Alphabet City, Waylead Properties, and they are showing the way. They are leading, in fact, in this regard. The number is on your screen, but would you still like to... Do you have a website?
Yes, please.
Okay, so maybe you can put that out right before we go.
Okay, so they can visit us at www.waylead.org.
Waylead.org. O-R-G.
Yes, right. O-R-G. Aside that, our social media handles, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you can just type in Waylead GH and you see everything that we are doing in the community.
Awesome stuff. Emmanuel Nyako is marketing manager with Waylead Properties. He joined us for a conversation. Also, the person you just heard, Sefin Siao, properties sales consultant with Waylead Properties. Lead the way, maybe in your family, in your group. Go to Waylead. And we'll take a break. We'll take another breather. When we return, we'll be engaging you. This has been quite a morning, the rain and everything. In fact, when we return, we'd like to find out from where you are, if the rains hit you, what has the situation been like where you are? In Accra nowadays, in Kyoto, 20 minutes, wahala day. Tell us what your experience has been this morning. I stepped out with my umbrella and I got soaked because the rain twisted, the metals in my umbrella, and I had to take a chill pill for a while. Anyway, we'll be right back on the AM show. Do stay. Welcome back on the show. Today I get to welcome back. I will read a line.
Hi. How are you?
I am feeling a bit cold.
Yes, it's a rainy morning.
I was in here. I took a step out to get something.
For about.
No, yours was it was a sprinkle.
No, it wasn't.
Mine was I was in the rain for about 10 minutes.
Benjamin,
Imagine.
Benjamin,
and this was before.
I waded through the water. You didn't see what I went. I had to wade through the water.
That is how we made the Lansah. I know at the point when you came through, I had been through the brunt of it when my umbrella was taken out. That's how bad it was.
It was windy as well. Yeah, it was
that bad.
Well. We just hope that you're safe wherever you are. The last time we engaged the Ghana Met you, they did tell us that we should expect more of these because of the season that we're in. So just prepare, keep an umbrella on you. I regretted not carrying mine this morning. But then again, if I was holding my umbrella, probably the wind would have carried me away. So probably a raincoat will do, maybe better. So whatever way you can stay safe in this weather, please do so, because we need you alive here on the AM show.
So as I indicated before we came on to the segment, if you have a rain story this morning, depending on where you are, because usually when it rains in Accra, I mean, for 10, 15 minutes, some places already start getting, So if you have a story, you can share with us. But we've had some interesting discussions this morning. One of the paramount ones has to do with the school feeding situation. And someone drew my attention to the fact that, I remember Operation Efiase, the prisoners, and one Ghana CD and the rest. And we equate that to the school feeding program, 97 pesos.
Look, Benjamin.
How does that make any sense? And in today's Ghana, with inflation and everything that is
happening, would just buy you water.
What can you, even groundnuts. Yesterday I went and bought groundnuts.
1 CD. The 1 CD is very small now. You have to buy
like groundnuts, yes. like something like this.
Yeah.
So what can you feed those kids on? And just to add this bit, nutrition is key for children.
You're right.
Their brain cells are developing. They need the proper nutrition. Don't think that education is all about, you went to school and all of that. Sometimes some children end up not being so able in class because they didn't get the right nutrition. Nutrition is key. And we're going to feed our children with what? Bernice.
And it's important, the point Kofi Asari made, Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, about the timing of these complaints and how when you complain at this time, because the budget has already been
But they've been complaining for a long time.
I understand, but
since last year.
I know, but to make a statement to say we're on strike, we're not going to feed the kids, it should come at a time.
But do you know why that comes up? Though we have a caller, Abdul Karim, if you don't mind, just hold for us. You know why that happens? Because like in many instances, many people who serve government know that it is only when you've got them with their backs against the wall that usually you would push and get something. Tell me that is not true. from the individual bondholders to everybody else.
You have a point. Abdul Karim, hello, good morning. Thank you for holding on. Oh, too bad we lost him over there.
Well.
Sadly, yeah. Sadly,
sorry about that, Abdul.
Yeah,
I just said that we would get back to you. But if you can, just work the phone lines one more time. We'll let you in and we'll take those thoughts that you had to share. We get carried away sometimes because, look, these situations. Someone was also sharing with me the other day that, you know what, we should have a policy, a rule, where all of these ministers, members of parliament and the rest, to make our educational system better, you know what, all of you should have your children schooling in public institutions in Ghana.
This was a discussion
no private
we had,
institutions.
And
they will fall in line. Everything will be done.
No, but remember we discussed that even on radio, and one of the ministers called to share his thoughts. I mean, Prince is joining us from Akosombo. Hello, Prince. Sorry, I just had to allow you so we don't lose you. Thank you for calling us. Share your thoughts with us.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to contribute to these politicians, these lie politicians. I want to show interest in Latif. We have not heard from Latif for a while. And yesterday we heard his case is still at court. He's one of your own. We were thinking this justice should have been served for a long time. Let's say this could happen to any of you. I wonder this case is still at court. And Ladi Samson Ayenini was my role model. This is the only TV station since we were born. You cannot tune into a different TV station. My dad will beat you. You can't try it. I wanted to become one of you because I admire all of you. I wish the whole media house in Ghana should come together. Let's go for demonstration against those things. Attack on journalists.
Right.
If I heard what you people said yesterday about Latif's conditions, I was in fact, it hurt me that journalists who are dying for, we, the voiceless people, are going through this. I just don't want to contribute to these politicians.
Right.
They come to your platform, you give them the opportunity. When you ask them a question, they don't answer. They other lie to us more. They lie. So I don't want to contribute to this.
Thank
My
you.
concern is you people and then the Latif case. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And unfortunately, we're trying to get more people to contribute. But the point to be made is that this even ended up with the Attorney General passing some comments. It's been in court, and you can't circumvent the court process. So everything we have to do, we are doing from our end.
Yes, and exactly. And I must say that Latif did us a great service by going to cover that story.
Yeah.
And he talking about demonstrations. I remember when this happened, and even when the police service came around, our boss then, Elvis Kwashi, said, we were going to follow this to the end. And he said, it's not a threat, it's a promise. I remember his words very well. And so we are keenly following on this. Like he suggested, maybe it's time again to marshal, because I remember other media houses joined us with Justice for Latif. And so maybe it's time again to do that. But like Benjamin said, it's going through a certain legal process. And we
at a point there was supposed to be an out of court.
And so that's the latest. So the IGP is saying no to that. I think that's the latest, is that going back to court. So we'll see how that goes. And thank you, Prince, for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate it.
Well, you can still call that number. We could maybe sneak in one last caller and then wrap it all up. 0302-211-691. If not, then we'll just get you ready for Joy News desk. But I was just saying on that point with the pupils that maybe we should get to the point where public officials, especially politicians, members of the executive, ministers and all of that, your children must school in the public system. I think then they would feel the pain.
That would mean a law must be passed, and they will have to pass it themselves. Will they do so?
And they will not.
I doubt it. Anyway, that'll be all from us today. Thank you so much for being a part of our show. Benjamin and I are super grateful that you join us every morning for the best show that matters to you and focuses on issues that matter to you. God willing, we are back again tomorrow morning. We start at 6 a.m. with the news. We trickle into sports, and then we bring you the news with our headlines, and then our big stories, and we get interactive with you. But it will be goodbye from us now. Up next is News Desk. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Enjoy the rest of your day as I go and defrost.